It's a little tore up throat monkey, but it's there.
Welcome back!
Hey!
Back!
Almost 3 weeks later.
Yeah, what the hell happened to you, man? The people have been asking. I've been like, he's sick.
Yeah.
I think we are a day short of 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's
3 weeks ago today was your last show.
Yes.
So I still have somewhat of a cough, but it's manageable to this point where it's not going to completely derail the show. I had that RSV with the flu on top of it. Made me very sick, which kept me out for the first week. And then I had what's called post-viral cough syndrome.
Of course. Is anything that you've ever had just been like
Normal? No.
Normal and easy? No. Like everything is like the most extreme that could possibly happen.
Yeah, no, that's kind of been the story of my life, is that horrible things happen to me, but I survived them all.
Yeah.
I don't know if I enjoy that part of it. Just,
I mean, you survive.
yeah, I know.
I mean, that's better than being dead.
I mean, is it?
Yeah.
Last I checked.
I mean, yes, Danny. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Jeff Russ is back.
Agree to disagree.
You were gone yesterday because sick kids. Which
Yes.
sick kids happen.
Yep.
Sick kids happen. So we got the band back together.
All of us.
Holy
Indeed.
crap.
That happened.
Look at this.
Yeah. Reunited. Double LP. We're all excited.
All right. So you are okay now? You're alive?
Yeah.
All
No, I am alive.
We're not weekend at Bernieing him.
No.
No, you're alive and well. I'm glad to have you back, man. You were going through it and everybody was like, well, what is wrong? I'm like, well, he's sick. Like, I don't know. I'm not there.
I called you throughout the process,
Yeah.
and you could hear how violently I was coughing.
God.
It was not good.
Blessed.
Not to get too gross, I was literally coughing up blood for a week. So it got really bad, and it got to the point where
I'd say that is.
Yeah,
That's bad.
My whole chest and back from coughing so much, it felt like somebody beat the living hell out of me. It felt like somebody took a baseball bat to me. It was the sickest I have been outside of being hospitalized for pneumonia.
Okay.
That's so.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're back.
I am too.
Welcome back.
I was getting stir crazy, man. I was losing my freaking mind. I was just like storing up hot takes.
Well, I'm just gonna say this to you, Danny. That is a scary thought because you are a person where if you were going crazy, what are those thoughts like?
Yeah, no,
Because
not
I
good.
hear many thoughts from you 3 hours a day, 5 days a week that are completely unhinged.
Yeah, which are the ones that don't make the cut?
Yeah, like what was this?
Yeah, no, it's I started a list.
We did have a time where we did think, are you out on bail? Is that really what this is right now? Like, did you somehow
Can't leave the county?
get bail? Like, because I would get calls and it'd be like, this call from inmate. Like, yeah, I'll accept it.
Yeah, no, it's
So you weren't arrested for any of the crimes you've admitted to on this? Okay, good. So you're just sick. Well, here we are.
as you can hear it in my voice still. I'm still not 100%. Hopefully the just absolute show amount of drugs they have me on get me back to 100% here in the next week or so.
Well, band is back together. We are live right here on The Fan. We are on youtube.com/1080am The Fan, twitch.com/1080am The Fan, and wherever you listen. Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, 1080thefan.com.
And on terrestrial radio.
You missed a lot, dude.
No, I saw that one.
You missed a lot.
I saw that one.
No, we did a show not on 1080. That was the first time I've done that.
You know, what's interesting is my mom called me.
Yo, mama.
And said, are you back at work? I go, no. She's like, okay, I can't find your radio station. I was like, yeah, it's because it's
she listens.
technically not there. No, she drives
Mama ring.
my niece and nephew around this time of day.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Kids in the car.
Yeah.
Kids in the car.
They know Uncle D, though.
That's an uncomfortable nickname.
They had trouble with Danny.
You might want to change that one.
I know. They had trouble with Danny when they were kids,
Yeah.
so it was just Uncle D.
Yeah, a lot of teachers are going to be all teachers are mandatory reporters, and when they come in talking about their Uncle D doing crazy stuff, it might that might get you a phone call.
Yeah, and they don't have my same last name, so they wouldn't understand that. No, he's just insane.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, but then the police would call you and be like, "Oh yeah, we got him on speed
Well,
dial."
at least
Yeah, we
it's not Uncle D the tickle monster.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's what we all were thinking. But thank you for coloring that picture for us, Rust.
I do what I can. I'm a killer.
All right. Well, you are cough free so far, so that is good, and we're roaring and ready to go. Did your wife get sick?
No, she avoided it. She had, I should say, she had a little bit of like a mild cough for a couple of days. She got tested for what I had. She never got it. So
That's weird.
yeah. Well, I did as much as I could to stay away from
Stay
her.
away.
Yeah. So I've got an office that's away from everything,
And you were just shoved in there.
I basically just lived in there all day.
God.
Well, she works at home, so I
That
just
would
wanted to
be
make sure
boring.
she didn't have to. Oh, well, the nice thing is I've got everything in there.
So what did you do?
I wrote a lot. I read a lot. Watched a lot of shows. Played a lot of video games.
Ooh, what'd you watch?
I started watching For All Mankind.
Well, you told me
On
about
Apple
that
TV.
before you got sick 3 weeks ago.
Well, there's 4 seasons of it,
Okay.
so there's a lot. So I watched that. I watched all of Reacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Season 2 of Reacher was good.
I mean,
Wasn't as good as the first season.
it was okay.
Yeah, it was good.
It was. It ended with a.
A bit of a thud.
Yeah.
Quite
it
lit-
wasn't
quite
as
literally.
quite literally a big thud. But that was that I love that show.
Yeah, the last 2 episodes felt rushed.
Yeah, they did. It was like, oh crap, we got to wrap this
Yeah,
up.
we
at
had,
8.
it's like what? It's like maybe just do 10 episodes instead of 8.
Yeah, let's do that.
Like it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Amazon, Wheel of Time. Been watching that. It's a fun little, kind of a Game of Thronesy type of deal.
Wheel of Time. See, we are just kind of recycling now shows that have already been made, and we're like, no. This one's different.
Well,
You'll like it.
this one's more
It's-
fantasy for sure, but it's kind of like, I would say that
Yep, I'm out.
that era.
That like if you were to put it in a time of like 12 to 1300.
Yeah,
There we go.
Yeah, that kind of deal. But what's funny is bringing it back to sports. The guy that wrote that is
Yeah.
Victor Wembanyama's like favorite author. He's a not sci-fi. What do they call it? Fantasy fiction writer.
Okay.
But yeah, he apparently. Did you see that thing the other day where the Spurs staff is not allowed to call him after 9:30?
I saw that they mentioned that in the game last night.
Yeah, so
they mentioned that in the game that they can't call him after 9:30,
because he spends an hour reading and then
Yeah.
he goes to bed.
which is very healthy of
Yeah.
him.
I mean, that guy's whole life is like.
Yeah.
What's the guy from Rob Deerdeck? Have you ever seen his life?
No, I've
the-
seen Mark Wahlberg's though. Mark Wahlberg is very similar,
It's-
regimented.
Yes, very like disgustingly regimented. Like he has like how much time he spends with his family mapped out.
Yeah, and that is like that's got to be hard if you're the kid,
Right.
right? Where it's like,
Oh, time's up.
I only get 15 minutes, Dad. Like, what the hell, man? He's like, nah, I got to go get my HGH injections or whatever. I don't know what was.
yeah.
What, it was like, I got to go do the cold tub.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's exact.
oh,
Yeah,
okay, well, nice talking to you.
I just to have your entire life mapped out like that. No, man, I can't. Don't get me wrong. I like some organization, but that's
At the same time, though, I feel like I would get a lot more done.
100%.
I'd get a lot more done.
Yeah.
Because there's so many times where I'm like, whoop, squirrel. And then all of a sudden I'm Googling like this bike that they found in like, do you see this? They're like, we need to, I saw this article and I was like, we need to rethink our timelines of history because like archaeologists found a bike,
like a bicycle,
like a bicycle.
like before the wheel was invented. Type deal.
like 500 years before we thought the bike was invented. They're like, we should probably start rethinking that. I mean, inconclusive on my Google searches, by the way. But I was sitting there
Are we
like,
going like full ancient aliens here?
like maybe, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Okay.
all I found was like
I did watch a little bit of that too.
I went down the tinfoil hat theory is of people like, see, look, in hieroglyphics. It's like, well, that could be a bike. It also could just be, a person
line?
pushing a wheel. And I don't know, they were chiseling stuff out. So maybe like they were like, oh, well, that line.
Or maybe
Kinda looks like
it's a UFO that was lifting the stones.
See, I don't go that far. I don't go that far. But
I've been to
That's what
Egypt
happens
and
to
seen
me.
the pyramids, and I want to take my wife back there because it's such an insane thing to see.
yeah.
This is a total squirrel moment.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot physically comprehend the amount of people and tools necessary to have built those things. Like when you understand just how
Right.
big those stone slabs are,
Yeah.
you're like, there's not enough people on this planet to move one of those things. How did this work?
Well, unfortunately, slaves and not caring if they lived or died.
I mean, even then, like
I mean, they were just like, well, we lost another one. Go capture someone else. They're
these-
going to have to
like
work for
pushing
us.
like these like 40,000-pound stones. I'm just
Industrious people.
like, it's just
Yeah.
it's just a wild thing to see.
Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them online at vancouverford.com. This one just says habits of highly successful people. I'm assuming they're talking about the mapping your day out and not spending 15 minutes Googling ancient bikes. Because
Well, it's also the book too.
what?
The habits.
There
of
is a that is a
Yeah.
that is a book. I'm reading a book.
Oh yeah, what are you reading?
It's called The Power of Now. Eckhart Tolle. I am interested in it.
What's the gist?
Uh,
Being present in the moment.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and how to, like, I'm not a self-help person by any means. Like, I just, I don't know. I was at the library with my kids.
Take
and I
all
was
of
like,
your emotions and bury them deep down inside.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Okay.
This sounds about right. But it's about, a lot of it is kind of just, living, well, the power of now, living in the present, how to get yourself to a place in order to, like, think of the now and not let the future or the past kind of dictate what you're doing and moving forward with what now is. It's really interesting, but I find myself going, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
On a lot of different things, but that's why I'm still reading it, because the more you kind of dig into it, the more of it is like how we've all kind of been wired
It's a condition to.
or programmed to think of what's down the road and how what was behind us affected it, and it affects what we're doing right here and right now. It is a little hippy dippy for me,
Sure.
but I find it interesting because it gives you insight into how other people think, if not yourself.
No, I mean, not to go completely sideways. That's something that
It's really good.
I really struggled with after all of my injuries. Was always worrying about,
Yeah.
am I gonna make it to 50? Am I gonna make it to 60? Like, and really trying to, like, if even that was the case,
Yeah.
especially like focus maybe a little bit more on, like, right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Not a
that's
big deal.
Yeah, and that's like you said, it's a little hippy dippy with, like, I would imagine the theory
It's good.
behind it, but it is worth really considering.
It actually is. I recommend it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't subscribe to that kind of stuff, or really, like, I'm not a big reader, but I'm enjoying it. It's good.
I have probably 10 books right now that have been gifted to me in the last 6 months that I need to read. And I enjoy reading.
Should get on it.
Yeah,
You should Wemby it.
the thing that I
Read
need
an
to
hour
do,
every night.
I need to stop getting hardcovers. As much as I like having the hardcover,
Yeah.
I need to get ebooks so I can just read it on my phone.
Look at this. We also have text in that Wheel of Time is a book series way before Game of Thrones. No
Oh.
recycling here. See? It's all,
No.
So Game of Thrones
I wasn't talking
recycled.
about, like, when
no,
it was written.
I said it. It's all, we're all recycling.
Oh,
Just like, hey,
gotcha. Yeah.
we're gonna do the same thing.
No, and that
But it's a little
author
bit
has
different.
written a ton of stuff that has been incredibly successful.
All
So, yeah.
Wheel of Time books way older than Game of Thrones. All right, we got that.
No, yeah, cool.
Wheel of Time. What'd you say it was on?
Wheel of Time's Amazon Prime? Yeah, Amazon Prime.
All right. Oh man. Okay. Well, now we're good. Now we're just in the weeds here.
There you go.
We've got how the pyramids were made on the text line.
Look,
We've
man,
got it all.
shotgun spray. That's how we're going.
It truly is. All right. Let's get to sports, shall we? Wednesday, by the way, on Tuesday, we did wrestling themes coming in. Don't know how we got there on a squirrel moment in the opening
Was
segment.
that
I
WWE
forget how.
getting purchased for $5 billion?
No, we actually didn't even really talk about that.
That's insane, by the way. That was just the rights to Raw.
Yeah.
The rights to Raw
Going to Netflix.
were bought for $5 billion.
Yeah.
By the way, Netflix's price going up again. Weird. Almost like there might be a correlation with how much money they just spent.
Damn.
It's not because they're paying their writers and content creators.
That's right, because they put that in the contracts, right? AI. Let's go. No, but we did wrestling themes on Tuesday. It was great. I loved it. It was fantastic.
like it.
So we're going to do Wrestling Wednesdays now,
Oh, okay.
where our theme music on Wednesdays
I
is going
like
to be
it.
wrestling music. And it's great. We had so many throwbacks.
We just have to avoid
Time to
Vince
make a new
McMahon now.
rotator.
Huh?
Time to make a new rotator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will. And send your recommendations in on the YouTube chat, Twitch chat, or at the Vancouver Ford text line.
There's a lot of good walkout music in wrestling.
Dude. It was just like going back in time. It just makes you feel good, gets you a little pumped up for each segment.
Dum, dum,
It was
dum.
nice. Yeah, Stone Cold. Yeah,
See?
I knew where you were going.
You knew
there.
where we were going right away. Yeah.
All right, name that tune, wrestling themes. I would do very good
Yeah.
at. I would do very
That's a
good
great
at.
Jeopardy
I would be
one for you.
mhm.
They just play the intro.
I'd be like, ah, beep, beep. I would. That's one I would.
Oh,
be really
I
good
did
at.
watch a lot of Jeopardy while I was sick, and there were two nights in a row I would have won.
No, you wouldn't have.
Oh yeah,
That's a lie.
100%.
No, that is.
100% would have
You're
won.
lying.
Nope.
That is a. It's a bona fide.
Nope.
No.
Crushed it.
No.
Crushed it.
I'm calling shenanigans.
Nope.
We need to get you on Jeopardy now.
Oh, I would kill to do that. I'm great at trivia.
Were they doing the kids week?
Wow.
Hey,
It was the Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader version.
There we go.
that show's hard.
That show was hard.
That actually was hard because
yeah.
a lot of the stuff they teach between like
was
third
very
and fifth
niche.
grade is like stuff that you will literally never use again.
Yeah.
And Jeff Foxworthy, in his like just the way he delivered it, made you sound real dumb.
Real
when
dumb.
You got it wrong.
Yep.
You're like,
Yeah.
You start talking hypotenuses and you were like, oh no, I haven't done that in
Yeah.
25
And
years.
just look at you over there, Pythagoras.
Yeah.
yeah. Look at you. Little draw. All right, let's sports today. We've got our picks coming up at 2:00. We will talk AFC NFC Championship game, the one thing that the Chiefs and Lions have in common besides being underdogs this weekend. But where we got to start? The Blazers bounce back from the Oklahoma City screw job and pull one out in Houston. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. heard you crying loud. About 24 hours after getting hosed by the officials in OKC, the Blazers got up off the mat and put together one heck of a bounce-back performance, picking up their 13th win of the year in overtime last night against the Houston Rockets, 137-131. I think it was more than just Anthony Simons who went off in the third quarter. Jeremy Grant with an incredible shot that, hey.
An emotionless banked-in three.
At the Houston Rockets against the Portland Trail Blazers at the buzzer of regulation, they have some PTSD going on.
Well, right?
I mean, it's not good. Like, they've had the Blazers number overall, but let's make no mistake, the Blazers have ripped their hearts out at the buzzer a few times, Dane. But it was Jeremy Grant last night who banked in his three and sent the game into OT, and the Rockets quit.
But something completely off script, too.
I feel like the larger story here that we're seeing over the last two games is answering one of the biggest questions that Blazer fans had about Chauncey Billups. And that is, are these guys going to continue to play hard for Chauncey? Because that's a legitimate question that has reared its head over the last handful of weeks, which have been the doldrums of the season, right?
Yeah.
You get your butt absolutely handed to you the last time you played the Thunder, and they put in. I still think that loss to OKC was one of the best efforts they've had all season long.
Yeah, no, they were competitive the entire game. They got down a little bit. They fought and they clawed. That fourth quarter was up until that absolute screw job by that absolute moron official. Was one of the most competitive we've seen from this team all year long. There was, 13 lead changes in the fourth quarter, if I remember right? It was insane, the back and forth. It felt playoffy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I haven't felt this all season. The lead up to that game, playing like crap, the struggling, a big part of it was Ant sucked. Ant sucked for 2.5 weeks. So much of that was, number one, Ant had the same thing I did. He had an upper respiratory infection. He was sick. Like, he was battling it. And he was playing in games he should not have played in. Like, he was absolutely dying out there. He probably shouldn't have played. That's not an excuse. Like, he knows that, it is what it is. But the other part of this is that Scoot Henderson being back in the starting lineup was just janky. Shaden being injured. And he's just not ready for it yet.
Yeah.
And that change has been huge for them. Number one, for Scoot to be comfortable again. In the last couple of games, he's actually been really solid. You've gotten really good minutes out of him. He's starting to figure some stuff out again. His confidence is coming back again. But it also makes the starting unit, and this is going to sound terrible, but they don't have to play from behind with Scoot out there early on.
Well, absolutely, because you have to defend the full floor.
And yeah, that's the big thing. Is like,
you do.
With Ant and Scoot out there, Ant has to go 5-on-4. And that was just a problem. Like, you can do that in the second and third quarters, where you can kind of stagger some things against some bench units and stuff like that and get away with it. Against starting units, it's too much to overcome.
Yeah.
And they made that change, and that has started to push the boulder back up, the Sisyphean boulder back up a hill, so to speak, for this season. But you're also seeing them get through the ugliness of this season. None of these guys are unaware of what this year is.
Absolutely.
And you're human if in the middle of January, when you know the trade deadline's coming, you're sick, you're beat up, you're on a brutal road trip, it's another, here we go situation, for it to come down and punch you in the teeth a little bit.
We talked about that a lot, just based, like, it was the doldrums of the season. Every sport has it. Every single sport. In the NFL, it is that late October to November stretch, and then you start ramping up the playoffs in that final month of the season. In baseball, it's the dog days of summer that we always talk about, pre-All-Star break. And then in the NBA, this is it. And they're in the middle of it. And when you're not competitive, you don't have a lot to play for, and you know your roster is not built to win, you get some clunkers. But there were some inexcusable losses in there.
Sure.
And that's where the legitimate questions of, hey, can Chauncey get them up off the mat and get them competing again? Because that was something that you could say the Blazers were up against it talent-wise. They were up against it injury-wise. And they had a tough schedule. I mean, they've had two-week trips.
Yeah, and they have another one coming up in March. It's actually
gnarly.
the longest. It's a 15-day trip.
But it was always they would compete. they weren't competing. Like they were not. I think something that we've seen over the last week, whether it was the Brooklyn win that kind of spurred a little bit of action, the win over Indiana, when Pascal Siakam's first game as a Pacer, and then that Oklahoma City game followed by the Laker game was.
Well,
goodness gracious.
The Laker one was, I think, more about the Lakers and less about the Blazers because the Lakers had lost to the Nets the game before, and they knew that if we lose to the Nets and the Blazers back to back, I mean they're in trouble anyways. But that would have been no.
But this is back to back games now where we've seen they've gotten, and there's every reason in the world for them to be like, oh,
on a back to back after a screw job. Oh God, yeah.
And then roll over again. I thought it was good to see that team get up and really put together another. Was it as clean as the Oklahoma City game that they lost?
No, they got down 13, but they got back into it. And you know what we haven't mentioned here? DeAndre.
Yeah.
DeAndre was really good last night.
Well, it's because I knew that he was going to be good last night when Chandler Parsons opened up his mouth and dropped an F-bomb on FanDuel TV saying he's not a max contract player. I was like, well, anytime Chandler Parsons says something, something good will happen to the Blazers. So DeAndre Ayton came back and he played really well.
Yeah, and it's not a coincidence that the Blazers are getting better when Anthony Simons is getting healthy and DeAndre Ayton is back on the floor again. We can say what we want about DA, and I have been disappointed with him, to say the least, this year. But even a moderately functional DeAndre Ayton on the defensive end is such a drastic upgrade over any other option that they have. Like even a halfway engaged DeAndre Ayton, because of his size and his athleticism, his ability to cover and switch and just be an impediment, changes everything for them on that end. And when he's actually engaged, which he was last night, incredibly active on the offensive glass, how he missed that lob from Ant bouncing it off the back of the rim, I don't know. But he found his touch again. He found his legs. He was converting the opportunities he should convert, was mostly careful with the ball. There wasn't a ton of careless turnovers. Ant had the two to him in the fourth quarter, a little sketchy.
Well, the putback in the overtime, I don't think that can't be understated, that they had a miss and he had that putback, and that was like, okay, there goes any life.
That's what opened up that game, that 6-point lead back. Yeah, no, it was. And look, I don't need 18 and 18 or 18 and 17 from DA. What did he actually finish with?
I think it was 17 and 18, right? Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah, I think they took one board away when I looked last night. I don't need 18 and 17 every night, but 18 and 12 should be what he averages on the season. That should be the expectation. Maybe that number goes down a little bit on the glass because of Jabari Walker just seemingly gobbling everything in sight up. But you should feel DeAndre Ayton's impact like you felt him last night.
Isn't it concerning? Isn't it concerning though that this is like more of his team than what he's ever had before, and it's still not the effort that was expected?
Yes and no, because. And this is where I hold, maybe I shouldn't, but this is where I hold that little bit of hope for them with him. The first 6 weeks of the season, which were an S show after Ant went down and Scoot was nowhere near ready and the team had to completely change everything. Everything that he came with baggage-wise coming out of Phoenix, he had every right in the world to turtle up and do nothing. And he good soldiered and he played his butt off those first 6 weeks. And I went, you know what? Maybe he will figure this out. And I think it wore on him. And he had some off the court stuff, which for those that just Google, you'll figure it out, that I think derailed him personally for a couple weeks there. Went full basket of cats and it sent him sideways. And then his knee, the tendonitis, like I saw his knee. His knee was the size of a freaking cantaloupe, man. He was fighting it. So I think you saw like the full derailment for about 3 weeks.
Right.
And then the injury, which kept him out another 3 weeks. And it took him a couple games to get back. I think if you can get the guy that you had effort-wise from the beginning of the season, which I think he's willing to do and not like capable of doing. And I think as we start to kind of round the corner back and everybody starts getting healthy and there's a semblance of a pecking order that they can get back there. But yeah, it worries me. It does, because my God, the talent is like, he wasn't 100% last night. He wasn't that wasn't his best effort. There were times where I'm like, man, get back. But even his best effort got you 18, 17, 3 and 2. Like
and I think that is where the frustration.
That's the frustration comes.
That's where the frustration.
It's even more frustration than you got with Nurk.
Yeah.
Because talent for talent, Aiton's more talented.
Sure.
There's just no argument there. So can they figure that out? That might be more important than Scoot showing a little bit more development going forward the rest of this year.
Right.
Then can they get DeAndre Ayton to be 85% of what he can be?
503-864-6326. That's a Vancouver Ford text line. All right. Jim Harbaugh is the man in LA. Now we aim at what's next. What is the realistic for a turnaround in LA? First is Rust with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
It's indoor golf season. Check out X Golf in Vancouver or Tualatin, the home of indoor golf, online at xgolfpnw.com. First on The Fan, fresh off an overtime win last night against the Rockets fresh off an overtime win the other night against the Rockets in Houston. The Trailblazers wrap up their road trip tomorrow in San Antonio against Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. Portland 13-31 on the season, the fifth worst record in the league. The Wizards have promoted top assistant Brian Keefe to interim head coach for the rest of the season. Wes Unseld Jr. is expected to remain with the team in a front office role. In the NFL, Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says running back Isaiah Pacheco participated in today's walkthrough but is still being held out of practice due to a toe injury. 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan says wide receiver Deebo Samuel will be a limited participant in practice today as he recovers from a shoulder injury. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn in Seattle for his second interview with the Seahawks for their head coaching vacancy. Multiple reports say the Panthers hiring Buccaneers offensive coordinator Dave Canales as their next head coach. Schefter also reporting the Eagles hiring former Dolphins defensive coordinator Vic Fangio to be their new DC. And ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reporting former Chargers offensive coordinator Kellen Moore interviewing today for the Eagles OC opening. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro football playoff action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Go deeper on the Trailblazers. The Rose Garden Report with host Sean Highkin. Download the Rose Garden Report on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Jim Harbaugh is the man for the LA Chargers. The LA Superchargers got their guy.
Go Chargers, go.
More
We only-
unhinged milk drinker. Schwarzenegger or Harbaugh?
Harbaugh.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, really? Yeah. It's Harbaugh. Why do you say Arnold? I've never seen Arnold be like, I drink a lot of milk.
Yeah, I
Like the
know.
look.
Not that candy ass 2%.
No, whole milk, baby, whole milk.
The whole idea of like the who's got it better than us thing not actually originating with him, but his father, really kind of speaks to the whole Harbaugh in general.
Yeah, they're O'Doyles, and that's all we need to know about them. But Harbaugh is the man. This is like the worst kept secret in the world, that Jim Harbaugh was going to go back and finish what he had started as a player with the Chargers, similar to what he did at Michigan, where he started as a player, brought a championship there. He left. His next infinity stone is getting a Super Bowl, and it would be a Super Bowl championship ring instead of the college football.
I mean, he really is
playoff
Thanos out there.
He is. And look, the guy at every turn, he's won.
Yes.
Literally everywhere he's been.
Everywhere.
Every single place that he has been, the man has won football games. And this is, when you look at the hire of Harbaugh to the Chargers, one, I think it's perfect for an ownership group that is cheap and has made misstep after misstep almost at every single turn.
Because they're paying him all of the money.
They have to. I mean, yesterday it was reported that Michigan's offer to Harbaugh was to make him the highest paid coach in college football, a clause that no matter who else got paid, he would have escalator clauses that would raise his salary up to be the highest paid coach in college football.
The Saban deal.
The immunity clause in it. So if anything happened with the 2 ongoing investigations against him in the program, he wouldn't be punished. And a clause that if they fired him with cause, if they terminated his contract with cause, he would still get paid for a year. Like he
That's a
got
pretty good deal.
everything he
In
wanted.
other words,
from
they
Michigan.
could fire you for effing up, and they have a reason to fire you for, and you still got your bag.
So this is a man that has won everywhere he's gone, and he's done it in some really damn hard places. I mean, I think
Stanford.
people don't understand when he took over the University of San Diego. The University of San Diego is a non-scholarship FCS football program. He went 11-1 2 years in a row there. And it was like, I think that they need a spot because they weren't eligible. The Pioneer League was not eligible for the playoffs because they were non-scholarship. They're like, probably should change that rule. And they have changed that rule in the FCS. He goes to Stanford where nobody could win. Buddy Tevens was an absolute disaster there. It was the worst job in college football. And everybody said it's the worst job in college football.
And he took them to be a team in, was it 2010?
They were the best team in college football.
It was a
at the
coin
end of the
toss
season.
between them and Auburn.
It was not. It was the year after. It was Andrew Luck. It would have been 2011, 2012. It was, they were playing the best football, but they lost early in the season. And in college football, when you had a 2-team playoff, they had to go and they played in the Orange Bowl, and they ended up winning the Orange Bowl. He recruited at a ridiculous level there. Then he goes to the NFL, takes over, and this is where you can sit there and you have kind of, all right, what should the expectation be with Harbaugh in LA with the Chargers? He took over a 49ers team under Mike Singletary that went 6-10 the year before.
And they were rudderless.
And the very next year, they went 13-3. His evaluation of talent, the way that he can sit there and find the way the pieces of the puzzle can fit together. When you talk about building rosters at every level, he has done it successfully. And he's a very tough person to work with. And that's where he and Trent Baalke, they butted heads in San Francisco. And so he went to Michigan. And he immediately, I think people forget, he almost got fired at Michigan during the COVID year. But immediately,
Remember, he took a pay cut.
they went to the Orange Bowl. They went to the Orange Bowl immediately when he got to Michigan. Like, they were good from the jump. But going that 6-10 to 13-3 in San Francisco, you look at why LA was attractive to him. He has the quarterback, and Justin Herbert is a better quarterback than Alex Smith was at that time. And oh, by the way, he drafted Colin Kaepernick his first year. Evaluation of talent, how they'll fit together. And you look at it and say, if this guy can get everybody to pull in the same direction, if they can shore up their offensive line, which they have the number 5 pick in the draft this year. They have all 7 of their draft picks heading into the season. I don't think they'll go offensive line because it was more of a health issue that they had, just getting banged up, because they have a left tackle if you can keep him healthy.
Yeah, Slater's a dude.
Lindsley is a very good center if he's healthy, but they're a product of health on both sides of the football. And
maybe you make those changes. You start maybe moving some guys that do have health records or backgrounds that aren't great. Look, the talent level may be there, but that stuff doesn't matter if you can't be on the field. So you might have to sacrifice maybe a higher end talent guy for a guy a step down, but he's out there for 15 a year.
They should win, and they should win. The expectation is they win immediately. And John Harbaugh said today he's getting ready for the AFC Championship game, kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And he addressed the fact that his brother got the Chargers job.
I have, and my thoughts are we play next year. So we're looking forward to all of it. You know, I'm just very happy for him, proud of him, excited for him, excited for his family. I heard my mom and dad told me that he called back in the evening and he found out that all of his kids, starting with Addie and Katie, had their bags packed already. They're ready to go. So they're excited too. So it's going to be great. He's well-deserved. And I'll say this, the Chargers just got themselves one great coach.
No way the kids are ready to leave Ann Arbor for Los Angeles?
That is the most Harbaugh thing ever. He gets back and they're like, bags are packed and they're ready to go.
It's amazing, too, how much exactly he sounds like his brother, like just from the sound of the voice to the cadence,
It's just slightly cleaner.
Yeah.
You know? What's funny is everybody tends to forget that John is the older brother.
Mm-hmm.
You would think Jim is the older brother. Number one, he looks.
Well, that we've heard about him and known about him for far longer.
But I mean, like, he looks like, he sounds like John still looks 10 years younger.
Yeah.
Right?
America.
Yes, he does.
I mean, it's got to be the milk.
It's hard living. It's hard living for John or Jim.
Yeah.
John is
a lot of city miles.
Well, and I think that comes with being the little brother and getting his ass kicked probably by John.
Probably.
You know, and then you just become a little bit more quirky. That's a
I don't think anybody's ever called
kind way to say it.
Jim Harbaugh quirky.
I think that's a great way to describe him
I'd
because
go with insane, but that's fine.
He's weird.
Yeah.
He is very weird, and he's going to win in LA.
Oh, I have zero doubts about them winning.
It will be very interesting to see where they go for the general manager and who he picks as his coordinators. Because Jesse Minter apparently is on tap to be one of his coordinators. They're saying he may bring him from Michigan to LA to be the defensive coordinator for the Chargers.
And it sounds like I heard Kellen Moore's name pop up at Michigan.
Really?
Yeah. I thought that was a little bit weird if you'd see those two swap.
Huh. I haven't seen that, but Jesse Minter is a guy that dude can call a defense, and he's kind of cut his teeth in the NFL because he coached with John Harbaugh before he ended up going into college and went to Vanderbilt, then ended up at Michigan. He has an NFL background. He is one of the smartest defensive minds in football. I wouldn't be surprised to see that one bit. I think Kellen Moore, there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to want his services in the NFL. And I don't know if he fits as a college guy. Just having brief interactions with him and hearing him speak, he is not the dynamic, I'm going to be a great recruiter, I want to dive into all day, every day, being in the lives of high school kids and trying to win them over. He's not that kind of guy.
He strikes me as college offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
where he could just do the football.
I don't, but you can't in college. In college, you have to be a good recruiter too. Like even if you are just the play caller, you got to be able to recruit because there's a massive hole if your offensive coordinator isn't that guy who can go out and do that.
Makes
you know,
sense.
So I believe he'll probably stay in the NFL. But now he was a guy that the Chargers were blocking him from doing any interviews. And so now he may go out, and Philly may be a landing spot for him because they fired Brian Johnson and they just hired Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator in Philly.
And they brought in Cliff to interview for that spot.
I think Kellen Moore over Cliff Kingsbury would be far better with the skill set that Jalen Hurts has and the way that you're constructed as it is with the weapons that you have on outside. I mean, Kellen Moore, for all of the warts that he gained in Dallas, I think we're starting to learn that maybe Kellen Moore wasn't the big issue with Dallas in the postseason.
Turns out
kind of looked like the same stuff happening over and over again. And now Cowboy fans are going to get all hot and bothered.
Maybe it was the quarterback.
But I think when you look at the success Harbaugh's had with quarterbacks, I think for Justin Herbert, you've got to be thrilled because every single quarterback, you know whose quarterback was at San Diego? Josh Johnson, who played in the NFC Championship game for the 49ers last year. Was he good? No.
But he's an NFL. He turned a guy into an NFL quarterback at a non-scholarship school.
Yes. And so think of his track record, Josh Johnson. And then he had Tavita Pritchard at Stanford before he had Andrew Luck. And Tavita Pritchard beat USC. And with a talent gap that was bigger than the Grand Canyon.
Chasm.
Okay. Then he has Andrew Luck. And then you go to what he was able to do with J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. Like Alex Smith, resurgence. Colin Kaepernick getting to a Super Bowl. Like he has gotten the best and squeezed everything out of every quarterback that he has ever
and not only
had.
that, he is a quarterback who understands it. Like, this isn't a run-of-the-mill guy. This is a guy who was a lifer quarterback.
Yeah.
So he knows the stuff that these guys are going through on top of being just this absolute maniacal football guy.
I think he probably is. He is the best program builder in football. Jim Harbaugh.
I would not disagree with that. I hate going hot takey stuff. He may be the best coach, football coach, not NFL coach, not college coach, football coach of the modern era.
No, I mean, that was something that I was saying in that, like, you had in that stretch where we had Saban retire, Belichick retire or get fired. You had the best NFL coach. You had the best college coach. And then Harbaugh leaving, it finishes the loop of you have the guy who is the best crossover, the best to do both.
Yes.
I mean, he won a national championship in college, guided a team to the Super Bowl, and that is really damn hard to do. And when you talk about like the best football coach, like you're saying, Nick Saban was unable to do it because he had the inability to connect with NFL players.
It's Pete, Harbaugh, and one other, I think, in the modern era that have been to a Super Bowl and won a national title.
Yeah, and Pete Carroll, that man
can coach.
He can coach some damn football too. I mean, it is Harbaugh and Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it right there. And if Harbaugh gets over the hump with the Chargers, because and here's why I say Harbaugh, he took over a dumpster fire in San Francisco. The Seahawks were not the dumpster fire.
No, Pete knew what he was running to.
And it was something good. Yeah. And now, did he knock it out of the park? Yes, he did. I mean, and that guy, he's special. And I love that he wanted in on that Chargers job. He wanted a piece of that Chargers job too. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. The Cowboys should just fire Mike McCarthy and bring in Pete Carroll. Just do it. Do it, and you're going to win. You're going to win.
But then that would require Jerry Jones being wrong.
Yeah. But would it him being wrong, or give me a damn Super Bowl before I die?
Yeah. You would think that knowing that you look like Tales from the Crypt, that maybe you'd push a little harder on that.
And the final piece to this, which we'll discuss a little bit later, like where Michigan goes moving forward. There is calculation in Jim Harbaugh dragging this thing out as long as he could. We all knew he was going to go to the Chargers. We knew it. We knew it. It wasn't the Chargers being like, well, we don't know if we want Jim or not. This process taking as long as it did.
How much money? It
was Michigan. No, it was setting up Michigan. Everybody else in college football has gotten paid. He wanted one of his guys to take over, and it will be Sherrone Moore. Sherrone Moore is, in all likelihood, going to be the guy. There is we'll get to this a little bit later, because there is a clause where, like, for the Michigan job, state law says it has to be posted for 7 days before you make a hire. There is a loophole in that we'll get to. Sherrone Moore is going to be the guy there. And I think it was calculated by Jim Harbaugh to make sure that this hiring cycle, Michigan was the last one in. What happens to that roster? That's going to be very interesting, because now the portal opens for 30 days for all the Michigan players as well. 503-864-6326. That's the Vancouver Forward text line. Jared Goff responding to the critics that are stating the obvious in the best way possible. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Are America's darlings right now. America's team, and it's not the Raiders, especially after
How dare you?
they're just a disaster, Danny. I just wanted to get ahead of that.
Whoa. They made 2 good hires.
They did.
You don't think so?
They made 2 hires.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, Tom Telesco as their GM and then Antonio Pierce as their head coach. Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has Danny been gone so long that Jim Harbaugh has since called Michigan America's team? Or was that before
probably.
he left?
Wait, did he really?
Yeah, he did.
How dare you?
He did. No,
That man don't belong to the silver and black.
I think that Antonio. No, definitely does not. 100% does not. But Antonio Pierce is a decent hire. It's what Max Crosby wanted. I mean, he got a little resurgence, but I was on one hand I kind of liked, and then I rolled my eyes at. He said not every player can handle coaching, playing for the Raiders. Not every coach can handle coaching for the Raiders. And that's how he said he was going to attack his offensive coordinator.
I think there is a grain of truth to that, though.
Because you all are delusional.
Well, insane. Yeah.
No, delusional.
No, that franchise is insane. even to be honest, in their best days, they were insane.
Sure.
Dysfunctional insanity.
Sure. Which isn't winning in the NFL now.
Yeah, well.
It may have been the 70s.
Bring back dysfunction. Make dysfunction great again.
But if that's what you're looking for in your offensive coordinator, I don't know.
I mean, if they want a dysfunctional offensive coordinator, there's plenty of those out there. They could go get, I don't know, Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, he's available. He's available. But the Lions charging their way into the NFC Championship game, like, this is fun, man. Now we only have the Houston Texans, the only team to have never played in a conference championship game in the NFL.
Which, the first half, they had me going.
That makes one of us.
They had me going. I was like, it was going to make this competitive.
Yeah, and then Lamar Jackson's
so hard.
Because they took the offense it took them a half to get the rust out. And then that defense is just too nasty, though. The Ravens defense is ridiculous. But you have the Detroit Lions I think they're handling all of this in stride and perfectly. They're just not this gritty team that's biting off kneecaps like Dan Campbell would lead you to believe. Because
it is part of it, though.
One thing that I love about the story arc of this Lions team is that this is Jared Goff's FU tour.
Yeah, because it's not a redemption tour.
It is him proving all of the doubters that no, I can do it. In that fourth quarter, he was electric.
So good.
11 for 12, 131 yards and a touchdown. But Jared Goff, and I think that there's an awareness that maybe the Raiders lack, that the Lions and Jared Goff have about this team. And like, I loved that how Jared Goff handled this reporter who was asking him basically what we already know. The Niners are a better team.
You guys got a lot of really good players, obviously, but maybe not.
Oh, thank you.
What's that?
I said thank you.
You're welcome. Maybe not viewed, though, as the superstars like the 49ers have or other.
All right, never mind.
But I mean, guys like St. Brown and getting you.
Yep. St. Brown was first team All-Pro, so.
Right.
So was Panay. Sorry, continue. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. But do you feel like this is a chance for more?
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. Yes, I do. I think we've got ton of great players who maybe haven't had the national stage that up to this point that a lot of other guys have, and obviously they have a ton of good players as well, and a ton of Pro Bowlers and all Pro players over there, and we feel like we've got a lot of good players too, though, like you mentioned, and excited to play on another national stage and be able to showcase that.
I didn't miss any, did I?
No, you got it. All good.
Look, I love the way Goff is handling himself, and he's not in it too deep, right? How many times have we seen quarterbacks get bristly at those sorts of exchanges, right?
Oh, sure.
Like, hey, you guys are in the NFC Championship game, but have you seen the team you're playing?
Yeah.
And they're like, ugh, and they give you a canned answer. Like, Goff is disarming everybody with, he's got a good sense of humor about it. And then while also noting, we have a first-team All-Pro. We have 2 first-team All-Pros. We have a really good offensive line that might be the best offensive line in football right now. Like that, even though Trent Williams is the best tackle, Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, they played out of their gourd against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Frank Ragnow is an absolute monster.
Playing on it was a sprained knee and a sprained ankle.
All of the jokes that were about like, oh yeah, they really are using Jahmyr Gibbs in a way that nobody thought by not using him in the first half of the season. They have unlocked him, and it's been a slow burn to getting him acclimated to the NFL game and using him properly. And they've got layers of weapons, and especially if Sam Laporta is looking like that knee, I still don't know how he's doing it, but it's looking like he's getting more and more mobile. And now you have Zach Ertz, if they win this game, going to the Super Bowl. Okay. They're going to have the layers of weapons. Their secondary may be their Achilles heel.
They're banged up back there. It just is what it is.
In that, they're not just banged up. They're just not good all season long either. They're just bad against the pass. Their secondary is horrific. And you cannot have corner play like they had against Mike Evans. You're going to get torched against the San Francisco 49ers. But I love the fact that Jared Goff is taking everything in stride where most guys would tighten up. The guy is more loose than ever before. And I think that is pretty damn impressive.
And I bet you know where the sun rises and the sun sets.
Yeah. It rises. Wait, it rises in the east? That moment has stuck with him for far longer than it should have. Right?
He went to Cal.
Yeah, he did.
Do you think
he didn't go there to play school though?
Do you think the administrators were like, son of a
no?
Come on, Kyrie went to Duke and thinks the world is flat.
Yeah, but
we go.
He only played 11 games there. He actually didn't go to play school there.
He didn't go do anything there.
No.
Including basketball.
Yeah, him and Bol, both guys who played, I think, a total of 11 collegiate games.
Yeah. I'm picking up what the Lions are putting down, man. With every turn.
That Campbell speech post-game was awesome, man.
Yep.
Absolutely awesome. Did you see Justin Jefferson get a little whiny?
No.
So there was
What's he butthurt about?
The NFL retweeted a sign from the Lions game that said, it was listed all their opponents, and it's like bit a kneecap kind of deal, like going on through after the injury that was suffered by
oh, come on.
And he was like, this is totally classless. I can't believe the NFL retweeted this. And I'm like, first of all, buddy, you want your knees? Tell the NFL to let defenders actually hit you somewhere other than below the waist. Number two, this is a reference to Dan Campbell and biting kneecaps, not hitting a guy and hurting a guy.
Everything's got to be about him then, huh?
That's what I mean. I was just like, come on, dude.
Just go hit the gritty and
just shut up and freaking catch balls, man.
He's really good, though.
He is, really good.
Hey, Lions are an underdog this weekend, so are the Chiefs. The two underdogs have something else in common, though. Next on The Fan. Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you. Thank you for being a part of our day, letting us be part of yours. If you missed any of hour number 1, check out the Service Patriots podcast. Service Patriots, your home comfort solution for all your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. You know, a lot has been made, and rightfully so, about the way the Detroit Lions have knocked it out of the ballpark with their 2023 draft class. Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch. Those 4 guys have been invaluable for the Lions.
Instrumental.
In year 1. And just to think of the impacts that they've had and getting the Lions to the conference championship game, they deserve every single bit of praise that they are getting for their talent evaluation and finding whether it's diamonds in the rough or those are 4 guys that they took in, I think, their first 4 picks in a row.
I came in beginning of this week to try to go, and before we ever went on air, we talked about this because there was a note that I had gotten from somebody else that referenced the Lions kind of breaking the norm as opposed to drafting for need as opposed to best player available. And the Lions go through it pick by pick by pick. They took a running back when nobody takes running backs. They took a tight end when nobody prioritizes unless it's a tight end that's like earth-shattering. They took a linebacker who they went, he's great against the run, but can he play in coverage? Like every single pick they had, everybody's like, why are you taking him here? The value slot's not there, blah, 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 blah. Every one of those guys has been huge for them week after week after week. And it's this interesting note in this kind of, I don't want to call it necessarily a paradigm shift, but you look at what they did. You look at what the Seahawks did last year. You look at what the Chiefs did last year, and you're seeing these teams that are breaking away from best player available mantras, so to speak, and much more addressing need fit.
Yeah. Is that more of like breaking a mold or having a more complete roster? Because when you have a roster that is ready to win, which the Lions were, which the Seahawks were, those which the Chiefs were, you then just say, what do we need to push us over the top? Then that puts you in not the best player available, but the best player that fits us to get to the next step, right? But I think what's the most impressive is doing it 4 times in one draft and being able.
And all 3 of those teams did.
And one thing that the Seahawks, they got all the praise for their 2022 class, and rightfully so. They did a great job, especially evaluating and hitting 2 linemen. You got your 2 tackles out of that draft. The team that is not getting nearly enough love or credit for what they did in 2022's draft is the Kansas City Chiefs, because their shift to a defensive-oriented team, it largely hinged on that 2022 draft class where their first 5 picks were George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie, Sky Moore, Josh Williams, and Brian Cook. 4 of those guys are defensive players that are a major reason why the Kansas City Chiefs are able to stay where they are at.
Because they pivoted to that side of the ball, which is cheaper.
Well, and back in the 6th consecutive AFC championship game is because it's not cheaper. It's the draft, right? You're building to the draft, and you have holes that were a mile wide, and you knew that you had your money tied up on the offensive side of the ball. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, those guys you knew you had to, you were invested in, and then you fill in the pieces and the gaps around those.
And you got
guys.
a Chris Jones deal and all those kind of things.
But on defense, you needed more. You needed a lot more. And to hit in those picks where it's not, you're not at the front end of the first round.
No, you're the back end of every round.
Now they had 2 first-round picks with Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie, but you're not in the top 10 with either one of those guys. And we see that you talked about that mold that you break. It's not necessarily the mold of best available. It is, what the hell do we need to stay where we're at?
It's not just talent acquisition.
They
it's
found
making
it, man.
smart choices. And you're seeing this, honestly, it's happening across sports. It's happening in baseball. It's happening in basketball. This 2024 NBA draft, I went and saw the G League Ignite team on Monday night.
Yeah.
They've got Ron Holland and Modest Buzelis. heaven help whoever drafts those guys. I could not be more out on them if I tried. But this draft is so flat that you're going to see teams take guys. You're going to go, wait, they're taking them where? Because it's about fit and it's about need. And the same thing in the NFL. So much has been made the analytic drive behind stuff. Not only where you're drafting, you can't trade up and take a linebacker. Go ahead and tell the Texans that.
Yeah.
They have a rookie defensive player of the year in Will Anderson. And they gave up a massive amount of draft capital to go get him. Worked out really well.
See, but that was a team that was the best available. And they needed a lot of holes to fill. And goodness gracious, they did a phenomenal job. D'Amico Ryans and that crew they worked wonders.
They needed two guys.
Nick Caserio probably deserves to be executive of the year in the NFL.
You're not wrong. But they needed two guys. They needed somebody to anchor their offense. They needed somebody to anchor their defense. And on defense, it's that pass rusher. On offense, that's your quarterback. And they crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. But again, as much as it was best player available, it was their guys.
Yeah.
It was what they wanted to go get. And I think there's been an encouragement of that, where in the past, I think you saw a lot of GMs who felt the pressures of, you have to take this guy in this draft slot. And I think that the obviously the wrong side of this is when you go full Mike Mayock and you draft guys two rounds ahead of where they should be drafted, where they took an offensive tackle that everybody went, what? They take Colin Farrell, who's trying 25 picks before he's supposed to go.
Trying to outthink the room.
Yes, and it's like, guys, there's a balance between those two. And I think you're seeing really well-run organizations that have drafted very well. Like, I think, again, Telesco with the Chargers, I think he did fantastic over the last decade with that team, regardless of the outcome and coaching in those situations. But you're seeing the best organizations are capitalizing on the moves they need to make as opposed to the moves that are expected of them. Think about over the last 6 years, how often we hear during the draft, whoa, didn't expect that. I felt like if you went back and charted those moves over the last 6 years, you would have seen an exponential spike of expectations in the draft versus draft slot order and what actually ends up happening being very, very, very different.
You know, we may see even more of that this year because of one thing in particular in college football that's kind of a revelation now. We'll get to that next. Danny Dusty on The Fan.
It's The Fan on Demand.
Part of the surprises of the NFL draft where you sit there like, oh, didn't see that you were mentioning. We've kind of seen those go up over the last handful of years is the fact that last week we had underclassmen for the NFL draft had to declare. And if you look at how many guys entered the NFL draft, 58 underclassmen entered.
That seems like nothing.
It is. I went down and I looked into this because it was kind of a jarring number. Like, dang, that does not seem like a lot. And it's not, especially when you go back to 2018, which is just 6 years ago. 106 underclassmen entered for the NFL draft.
Holy crap. So you're talking about a 42% reduction?
Yep. Then you had the COVID year, which you just kind of throw that one out.
Yeah.
But then you have NIL come into play. And in the NIL era, okay, after 2018, where there was 106 record, I think you had, I think it was 103 in 2019. 2021, you had 98. 2022, 73.
Oh, that was a big drop.
2023, 69. Nice. And then this year, only 54. You're seeing a slow drop in the underclassmen, which when you saw teams, these guys would be artificially hyped up because, hey, early entrant in the draft, hey, there's a reason why he's leaving early.
Super young, a lot of potential, blah, blah, blah.
A lot of the surprises were 4-year guys that stuck around. You're like, that's a little weird. He stuck around for a little bit longer. Like that usually you go for the younger guys, you hit them before they hit 30 in their second contract, all that stuff. This is one of the great things about NIL and the transfer portal is that we've seen in 2018, just 6 years ago, 106 guys entered the draft early. It's 54. They almost cut that number in half in this season. That is a monumental shift in the way that players are handling their careers in college. And it will be for the betterment of the product. And it is one part NIL inducing guys to stick around another year. See Washington last year. It was beneficial for the college football game too, because you had new blood all of a sudden in the college football playoff and in the national championship game. You also have the transfer portal because a lot of guys would enter the draft because they were stuck somewhere and they didn't want to be there anymore. Now you have the ability to go and transfer. And whether you're pulling I'm going to transfer to Ohio State because they're going to pay me out the wazoo to get me for 1 year and be a hired gun, so be it. You're actually helping yourself in the NFL draft, and you're helping the NFL as well with the evaluation with one more year in college football. These are the things like when you want to tear down college football's NIL and transfer portal, sure, it's not the same. And nobody's going to force you to like it or say that it's a great thing for the game. It has helped the NFL, and it's helped a lot of these players, too, from making mistakes that they would have made by going to the NFL early and having their careers flame out.
It's really interesting. I'm just kind of going through the mock draft for the first round right now, and there seems to be a very clear split between upperclassmen and lowerclassmen, where you've got the super, super young guys, where you've got like a Nate Wiggins, the corner from Clemson, or a Laiatu Latu. There's just two divisions of this. Like you're not really seeing the in between so much. You're getting a lot of like 20 and 21 year olds or 23 and 24 year olds. Yeah. And it's like either you've got it and you're like, I think it's what you're talking about. The whole idea of like, instead of forcing your way to the NFL because you're stuck in a place you don't want to go, you stay in school and you further develop. Yeah. But if you're that dude, you go. Yep. That's how I think this process should go, and it will be better for everyone. Those guys go to a place where it makes more sense for them. They get NIL, they get paid. The guys that probably aren't draft ready, they stick around maybe a year longer. Even if you're a fringe NFL guy, now you keep your name out of that mix. You don't go and just be a practice squad guy. Maybe you figure out it's not in the cards, and you make some money on the side. But I think it benefits the league because you don't get these absolute burnout day one and day two picks where that not only cripple the franchise, that cripples the player. Yeah, it does. It hurts their career too moving forward. Because they're not ready to make that transition. And to be honest, when a guy flames out in the NFL as a top day one or day two pick, how often do they recover?
It's not very often. A lot of them can have like solid careers, but not for, a first round pick where you expect them to be a starter.
Where that value slot, as we were talking about last segment, kind of comes into play.
Absolutely. It's an interesting turn in the world of college football. And look, if we're being quite honest, it helps a lot of the dumb evaluators who take reaches on guys. Mm-hmm. Like going and reaching on a Clelin Ferrell, right?
Yes.
Because you're like, he's young, he's raw, we can mold him. Instead, you're having these guys come back for another year, season a little bit more, get a little bag for you in college, get yourself a little nest egg. And then I will be very interested to see how NIL in like a decade
looks.
Well, and how it changes the professionals who go broke, 80% of NFL players that go broke 4 years after retiring, right? Where
if they're already starting,
you don't just become a multi-millionaire
overnight
once you get drafted in the NFL.
That's interesting.
Because the schools that are doing NIL the right way,
they have programs.
They are doing financial security and financial literacy to make sure you're not burning through all of your money and being an idiot. They're actually teaching them how to invest your money, save your money, and make a little into a lot. The whole idea of compound interest is hard to explain to people because we let them down in high school by not teaching them properly what compound interest can do for you. Because look, to be quite honest, there isn't curriculum for you become a millionaire overnight. No. How should you handle that?
No.
But in college, you have the ability
to do that,
to say, hey, I'm not just some guy who pops up out of nowhere in your DMs the day you get drafted and says, hey, man, I can help you with that money. I'm not a guy who's like, I got a crazy investment. No, these are people who work for the university and they say, all right, let's make this money work for you.
Invest in McDonald's.
Right, yeah, buy a Mickey D's.
I'm telling you, ask any NBA player when they go through the rookie symposium, the number one thing they tell them to invest in is fast food chains.
Yeah, go and buy them.
Go and buy them. Go and franchise them because they print money.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. I don't know if you guys talked about this while I was gone. You probably did. But when you started asking about the future of NIL, I started wondering, like what are we going to start seeing the full breakouts of all these universities and their spending and kind of how that looks in a decade? Like salary cap structure kind of a deal, because the whole report on Ohio State getting spending roughly $13 million on their roster. Like, are we going to start seeing like structured books coming out like we do salary caps in the NFL and NBA? Like you're allotted X% of whatever revenue you generate kind of situation. Then how does that framing kind of change how we look at the draft? When you're talking about like value slotting, and if that ends up changing salary structures in the NFL,
right?
Because of like marketability, things around that. I start getting kind of in the weeds of that stuff, but yeah, that it interests me as far as because that relationship is going to be a lot more, I think, symbiotic than people are willing to concede at this point.
I think so too. We're heading down that path, and it's in a big way. All right. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting note, though.
No, it is.
You're almost half as many guys entering the draft early as just 6 years ago.
That's a significant number.
Yeah.
So, coming up next, we have our worst day on the web. Sometimes every now and then you need to punch somebody, and it's not a kid. But first, here's the Big Kuno Sports Center update.
Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by LaRog Brothers Jewelers. Every engagement ring in stock is up to 70% off. Visit LaRog.com. First on The Fan, fresh off an overtime win last night against the Rockets in Houston. The Trailblazers wrap up their road trip tomorrow in San Antonio against Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. Portland 13-31 on the season. That's the 5th worst mark in the league. The Wizards have promoted top assistant Brian Keefe to interim head coach for the rest of the season. Wes Unseld Jr. is expected to remain with the team in a front office capacity. Some NFL injury news. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says running back Isaiah Pacheco participated in today's walkthrough, but is still being held out of practice due to a toe injury. 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan says wide receiver Deebo Samuel will be a limited participant in practice today as he recovers from a shoulder injury. And some updates from the coaching carousel. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn is in Seattle for his second interview with the Seahawks for their head coaching job. Quinn will also reportedly have a second interview with the Commanders early next week. Multiple reports say the Panthers hiring Buccaneers offensive coordinator Dave Canales as their next head coach. Adam Schefter also reporting the Eagles hiring former Dolphins defensive coordinator Vic Fangio to be their new DC, and ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reporting former Chargers offensive coordinator Kellen Moore interviewing today for the Eagles OC opening. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ, the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro football playoff action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
If you can't find the humor in today's NBA, you're doing it wrong. Heat Check with Trista Crick on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Worst Day on the Web with Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Well, that sucks.
Now, Dusty, you sent me this one, or sent the group chat this one. How did you find this, by the way?
I'm deep into Twitter wrestling.
Okay, because you went into Idaho wrestling.
Yeah.
Which it was a wrestling meet at Skyview High School in Nampa, which is just outside Boise. And Skyview.
Actually, that is exactly the reason why I found this, is because it came across my timeline because my roommate in college, he went to Skyview High School.
Oh,
and so
it's one of the biggest high schools in.
I was like, what the hell you guys got
a pretty new one.
Yeah,
it's a powerhouse school.
Really new? Well, it's newish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like, we couldn't have gone there. Well, you couldn't have gone there.
Yeah.
Obviously, people my age could have.
I thought there was one that had opened fairly recently the last couple of years.
That'd be Columbia.
Okay.
I think Columbia High School there.
Deep in the Idaho high school structure weeds here.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
my wife was born in Nampa.
It's also in Nampa. Yeah, Columbia's in Nampa.
Nampa's a fun. Look, I've
My
been
buddy's dad was the golf coach there.
Oh, there you go.
Ken Quick. What's up?
I've been to Boise quite a few times on the drive. Nampa, fun little city.
No,
I wouldn't go that far.
No, it's not. Nampa sucks.
Yeah, Nampa.
My God,
no.
that was the closest
Boise
I've ever
fun-
had to come to hitting the dump button for myself.
But dump. Nampa,
Dumb button?
a city. Boise, fun little city.
Yeah.
I'll go Boise, fun little city. But Nampa,
Nampa exists.
Maybe it was Meridian.
And if you're on the wrong side of town, it smells like the sugar beet factory, which does not smell as good as that would sound.
Meridian has got the water park. So you got that.
Yeah.
Meridian and Cuna.
Yeah.
There.
And again, not Nampa.
Yeah.
I'm finding out during this segment in real time. I know my suburban Boise cities quite well.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Huh? All right.
Yeah. Caldwell's in there. Yeah. Well, Eagle is actually where this guy
Okay, yeah.
in question is
And
from.
Eagle Road is the bane of most people's existence there.
That's the one that's always under construction, right?
Talking,
No, it's just always busy.
Yeah,
Always.
okay.
talking geography.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you know this assistant wrestling coach who decided to strike a NISA high school wrestler during a meet Saturday, January 20th. That
Now
was
you need to get your Eastern Oregon
weekend.
cities down because
Yes,
that'd
it would
be
be
Nissa.
Nissa.
my
Yeah,
bad.
Nissa. Yeah. Yeah. Which is in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. That one got me.
Middle of nowhere, Eastern Oregon. But yeah.
Russell Branson is an assistant coach at NISA.
Yeah.
And his son was getting his butt kicked on the mat
By a freshman.
By a freshman. His son a senior.
Yeah. His son is senior.
Tough look.
This Brunson dude is an assistant wrestling coach.
Who barked at the ref that his son was getting choked out.
Yeah.
Using an illegal chokehold. The ref checked, said, nope, not good. And then the freshman kid decided to wrench it down a little bit harder, at which point in time, the wrestling coach decided he was going to fly over the top and smack the hell out of the kid.
He punches the kid like 3 times. You can see there's video of it.
Oh.
Yeah. Look, I'm big on wrestling Twitter here. I'm going to retweet it right now. He jumped you can see the ref like checks to see, and he's like on the mat, like pointing, like he's choking, and then he punches, he gives him like 3 quick little rabbit punches, a couple to the ribs and one to the back of the head. And this guy is the biggest loser of all time. Russell Brunson, to do that as a coach, like as a high school coach myself, there's sometimes you feel like you're on the edge and you're like, what in the world are you doing? What are you? But you're an adult and they are high school kids and you cannot act this way. The worst part about this dude is that this Russell Brunson dude apparently is like an influencer on Instagram and TikTok. He's got like 1.3 million Instagram followers.
Let me tell you, his last tweet on January 23rd, which is after this incident, is, what is your gift, in all caps, to the world? Why were you put here? Was it to punch kids?
No, probably not. Probably not, Bob. I can't, it's one of those things that anytime something like this happens, you go, I can't, you can't fathom being in that position as an adult who is a high school coach. And this is one thing that I think it's really hard for all coaches to do is, one, coach your kid, right? And he saw his kid was getting beat and he couldn't handle it. Like that to me, it is worthy of he got a lifetime ban from coaching in Idaho. Seems like a good start.
And he's
Sounds
banned
about right.
for 2 years from all school activities?
Yeah, like can't even go to a high school activity.
Can't appear at all.
This is something that every time, like this happens about once a year, right? We see a story of some coach being a moron like this.
And it's always their kid involved.
It usually is. Yeah. It's usually your kid is involved in this. And like the crazy part to me is like wrestling. I think wrestling is a fantastic sport for a lot of reasons.
Building a lot of character.
But discipline is one of them. And to show that lack of discipline.
And he's a former D1 wrestler.
The fact that this guy, one, apparently he didn't even get like kicked out of the wrestling meet
out
either. No, it was after an hour.
Oh.
Yeah. That apparently he went by, and the part of this story that really gets me, because the restraint of a coach is one thing, but apparently he had an interaction with the parents of the kid that he punched. And for the parents not to choke that dude out.
I'm talking to a parole officer in the morning if that's me.
That is something that I go,
this time for a different reason.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah, this time you had double ankle monitors on. That's a new trend. But
balance them out.
The fact that there was an interaction where this guy was face to face with the parents of the kid, I don't know how the parents of the kid who got hit had the discipline not to pop off and knock this dude silly. it was nuts. And you could tell almost immediately, like he gets up off the mat and he throws his hands up and it was like, oh God, what did I do? Like it was like
it's an instant reaction.
Oh, what did I do? I just can't, I can't fathom being in that situation in reacting the way that he did.
In an insane way. I don't have kids and I fear for my children when I do, but the reaction to protect your kid, that very basic instinct, I understand. However egregious what he did.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I at least understand, especially once you see the video, he is 2 feet away.
Yeah. I have a feeling that this is going to be a bigger issue than his lifetime ban, though. He claims to be, he's a New York Times bestselling author.
He's got like 100,000 followers on Twitter and 1.3 million followers on TikTok. Like he's going to take a hit for this, man.
Yeah. Another tweet of his.
He's lucky the parents aren't pressing charges.
And that is probably to be determined.
Yeah, I mean, like as of right now, there isn't anything. But like, it's on video, man. He's cooked.
Do you think that maybe this tweet from January 19th was the signal? Do the hardest thing on the list first and then finish with the easiest?
What, punching a kid in front of everybody else?
Well,
Was that the hardest thing?
I mean, punching a kid is, I mean, that would be probably the easiest thing on his list that day.
But no, I'm saying the hardest thing, like punching a kid and getting away with it.
Yeah, he didn't do that.
No?
This one from January 20th. What made your quality of life so much better that you wish you had done it sooner?
Punching a kid.
Don't think that that's it, boss. Boy, going through somebody's Twitter feed after they do something is a hell of a thing.
It's kind of fun to do that after the intrusive thoughts win.
Hey, I can answer this. Question. What's the one thing that you learned from me that's helped your business? Well,
punching a kid in the back of the head?
Not to punch kids, because I'm sitting here and I'm talking about it right now.
I feel like I could do my own TikTok and just based on his tweets.
Yeah.
And just insert punch a kid.
Oh, here. January 16th. Ask yourself, how fast can I fail?
After punching a kid. This is like adding in bed to your fortune cookie.
That's right. That tweet of how, ask yourself, how fast can I fail? Well, I watched a 12-second video, so about 12 seconds.
And in that 12 seconds, it took you about 3 seconds to fail.
I got that pretty quickly. That was 12 seconds is about as, I think you could have done it faster, actually. You know? So, in just one sentence, what is the problem that your business solves?
By punching a kid.
There you go. God.
I love this. It's a fun little game.
You know what it also reminds me is that, like, how much of these influencers are just so full of S?
Oh, they all are.
I mean,
that's why I respect the ones who own it.
What in the world?
I mean, it's all cultivated. Nothing's real. When's the last? I'm going to go on a social media rant here real quick. When was the last time you saw somebody younger than you post a photo that wasn't edited? Like, we're all old enough to where when we were posting on whether it's Facebook or Instagram, you just posted pictures.
Well, I have a feeling most of the crap Will Ortner is posting is not edited. If it is, he needs more editing.
Oh, I bet you he's doing a little soft edit.
You think so? You think he's going filters?
Little magic
he's filtering?
Yeah, I think he's doing a little filter.
Yeah, let me see here.
Soften up the old edges a little bit.
I'm just thinking of people that are younger than me and just looking at the photos, and I don't think he's editing these. I mean, if he is, he's not doing a good job of it, because that just looks like Will Ortner. But other
than Will Ortner.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, I can't remember the last time I saw a photo where you could see a single mark on someone's face.
P2 Jim, I saw my kids getting beat all the time in high school, and I was coaching them, and I didn't do that.
There you go. Like, again, none of this stuff is real.
P2 Jim, a girls lacrosse coach. That would be a hell of a thing.
With sticks. With sticks, even. I had another parent try to fight me.
Well, that makes sense. I don't even need to know the story. Now I can see that this happened.
I was acquitted of all charges.
Yeah, I bet you were.
I was. Our AD, Jim Mavison, wasn't thrilled about the entire ordeal, but I did not do anything.
Oh, no, Mr. Mavison. I miss him.
Mave, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that was a fun situation, but I was not the one who instigated. I just finished it.
Great, of course.
All right, speaking of finishing, how about trying to finish your fantasy football league and finding out somebody was trying to steal $150,000 away from you by pulling the old switcheroo? Coming up next year on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Art Alakakis.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Lonely and dreaming of the West Coast.
Well, unfortunately, when there's money involved, there is scandal involved. And the bigger these things get, the dumber the criminals seem to get in response.
Okay, yeah.
So
makes sense.
Right? That's kind of how I figure this is going to go. We weren't getting any grand heists. What's the what's the movie?
Ocean's 11.
Not just those ones, but well, God, the Charlize Theron, Mark Wahlberg,
Italian Job.
that one, yeah. We're not getting anything. We're not getting any Mini Coopers. I want some more grandioseness to my heists. I feel like we're missing that. Instead of idiots like this, the National Fantasy Football Championship, they put out this big post yesterday outlining everything they know. Because that's the thing about this. In all the gambling world, there's quite a bit of scandal that happens, particularly in the fantasy sports world and the online poker world.
Mm-hmm.
And not even just online poker, but Hold'em tournaments themselves, where people are still like wild, wild west cheating with like aces up their sleeves type stuff. That happens. As insane as that is. And people are rigging these tournaments all across things. And you just get these, you just sit there and you go, how did you think you could get away with that? So here's the situation. The post starts with, says, recently with help from reporting from a public source, we successfully revealed a post-deadline move in one of our postseason Hold'em contests that was detected and quickly confirmed, resulting in Sports Hub being able to take immediate action to resolve the issue without any impact to the results of the contest. Here's what happens. It is a fantasy football system that is designed to go based on lineups.
Mm-hmm.
It's $150,000 buy-in. It's $1,500.
It's daily fantasy sports.
Yes. The reason they were caught is that the particular team in question, you can see your opponent's matchups before the lock-in. And typically with these big prize pools, these guys, they all know each other because it's a big buy-in.
Sure.
And in those, you get guys that are like MIT, smart. They have algorithms that are driving this stuff. And so they're capturing data. So these guys have screenshots or markers for all of the different rosters. So they know the permutations and the likeliness and the occurrence of an occurrence is going to happen, right? So one of the guys notices that the guy that's in first place right now, his lineup doesn't match what it did when he marked it. And there was an employee at the company who went in behind the scenes and manipulated the deck and inserted a player into his lineup that had already scored a touchdown.
No.
So yeah, this is why.
So 150 grand.
Yeah.
Right. And the employee is manipulating the roster of the guy who's winning. And this is pretty easy to find because you screenshot a guy's lineup and then all of a sudden you look at the end and you go, wait, that guy wasn't on his team.
Mm-hmm.
That guy wasn't on his team. This has already started. We know that.
How did this just happen? And then you can also check the background on the computer servers and go, oh, this has been manipulated.
Okay, so you said it's 150 grand was the prize total?
Yes.
What do you think the take of the employee was then?
About 50-50.
You think it would be a 50-50 split?
75 grand a piece, yeah.
And that's it. But
I mean, is $75,000 enough to risk getting barred from gambling for the rest of your life? Because that guy is never going to work in that industry.
No.
Federally, he cannot work in that industry ever again.
No. And that guy who bet, he's going to be banned from any betting on any site. Hell, he's probably going to be banned from casinos even.
To be honest,
the regulators are going to be like, no. And all the casinos
this is wire fraud.
Oh, this is brutal.
This is wire fraud.
Oh, really?
Yes. I mean, you're manipulating the contest across state borders. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you're pretty screwed. And I think it should be more than 50-50. I think it should be probably
60-40?
70-30
To
maybe.
the guy manipulating?
To the guy manipulating. He's got more skin in this game than the other guy does.
He's the one doing the literal manipulation.
That's right. Like the other guy wouldn't be winning.
No.
You would just be the accessory and be like, I don't know, man. I just was told to do it. And you probably do that 70-30. That's probably on the old lump sum there. The 150, and that's before taxes even. You'd be like, dude, no, I'm taking a bulk of this. You can take the scraps. You're probably good for 10 grand. I'm going to take every single other penny of it. This is something that these are the big worries that everybody with legalized gambling will say, hey.
And you're never going to get rid of all of it. You just have to hope you can mitigate what you can mitigate.
Yeah, there's bad people doing everything. And you take this, you can take this to any form of business that there is. Like any form of business. Shenanigans are at play, no matter what.
Who could forget the wild sugarcane wars in the ice cream developmental world? Baskin Robbins and
I have no idea what you're talking about. No, I have no idea.
I'm just making the episode I go.
Maybe,
but it's believable.
There's manipulation everywhere, and there's skirting of the rules and laws.
We quite literally had the egg industry manipulate the availability of eggs during a pandemic.
Yeah, that was wild.
They artificially boosted the price of eggs,
which is more just unbelievable in this. The brazenness of this, or the Keishawn Butte, the LSU player, now New England Patriot, who has been arrested today.
What did you say? It was over 9,000 bets?
Well, no, almost 9,000.
Good God.
8,900 bets. While he was underage, he was gambling using the username Keishawn Booty 7 and Keishawn Booty 01. Okay.
That's as good as using not Kayshawn Booty.
He wagered $450,969.44 on 1,520 bets in 2022 alone. He won.
Does he have that kind of money?
He won $385,597.71, which means he lost
130?
$65,000
So the other way around.
in
Gotcha.
bets. In 2023, he wagered $186,000, won $170,000, indicating losses of $16,000.
So he sucks at this.
He's not good at betting, and he did a lot of it, and he is underage because he's under 21.
Oh my God.
Well, that tells you too. He probably did a lot of it trying to win back his money.
And on that note, he was betting on LSU football games
When he was there. And let's not forget, he was an absolute head case there.
Yeah. And that's going to be something like because this is all coming to light right now. And this goes back to 2022, right? When he was at LSU. So
That's when you start
did
looking at,
LSU know anything?
That's when you start looking at racketeering charges.
Did LSU know? Because remember, he was on the team, off the team, back on the team. Did LSU know anything at the time?
And if Congress comes in over the top and hits an FOIA because they're a public university and they get those cell phone records, something tells me they will be screwed.
You got to know LSU is their blue blood SEC program. They're not using those cell phones. They're going on the burner phones. Everything is on the burner.
Nothing but burners.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a school cell phone.
The teams that get caught with the cell phone stuff is Hugh Freeze at an Ole Miss, right?
That's
where
true.
he has the rub and tug massage parlors still on his school cell phone.
Unbelievable.
Well, and
Even though he had time to scrub those numbers from his phone, he still had them on there.
If you're going to be doing something that you know is illegal and you're not supposed to be doing, why are you still using your full name in the usernames?
That's the kind of thing an idiot would have on his luggage.
Yes.
Hide in plain sight.
Yes.
Hide in plain
100%.
sight, my
And
friend.
in case you were wondering, the switch that occurred in the fantasy football transaction, they switched Raheem Mostert, who had 33 yards and 8 carries in their loss to the Chiefs, for Aaron Jones from the Packers, who had a monster week.
Yeah, that ain't it, boss.
So it wasn't like, a change of like 3 points to 6 points. Like, oh, maybe it'll move him up the board. No, it was quite literally the biggest change you could make.
Yikes. Like, I think when you're in that situation, now, was it winner take all?
Yeah, the first was 150, second was like 20. So it was
You can't win, but you can't take first.
No, yeah.
You have to commit to multiple years of second place here. That's what you got to be
play
doing.
the long game?
Yeah, you got to play the long game if you're doing this. You can't just be like, you know what we're going to do? First place. Because everybody's going to be checking the guy who's in
We're going to
first
play
place.
this in 3 years at Dusty's grand jury trial.
Yeah, that's probably true, but no, they'll check my losses. It's fine.
Yeah.
4 yards. 4 yards away. All they need to do is just check down to James Cook one time and I hit a 6-leg parlay.
Take the check down.
Damn. Didn't do it.
Wow, check down Charlie over here.
4 yards away. Well, did you see the last drive of the Bills? Because could have used it. Could have used it. Yeah. There's one where James Cook was back out and he was wide open. Could have made that 41-yard field goal a little bit more palatable. I think he would have gotten 5 yards on it. Think he would have gotten it.
Every time I hear,
I'm not bitter though.
I wanted the Bills Lions Super Bowl, so who are you telling? But yeah, I don't know. You're
Bulls Lions Super Bowl. I had a 6-leg parlay riding on it.
Oh, so you were serious about the 6-leg parlay?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were just saying generically.
No.
Oh,
No, I was only 4 yards away.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, it's okay. It wasn't a big bet. We're okay.
That hurts.
When 6-leg parlays, you're not putting down big money.
But
I could have.
But you could have.
I would have had a nice payout. It was the longest shot on, or is the shortest shot on the thing too. 25 yards over.
What was the plus money on that? Like plus 3,300 probably.
No, it wasn't. It was like 2,600.
Oh, so it wasn't a too risky 6-legger.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No. I was playing. It was an easy one though. I thought it was an easy one. Damn.
6-leggers, they'll get you every single time, right?
It's okay. New week though. Conference championship week. We got this.
So speaking of gambling and picks, when we come back, we will make our picks for conference championship week. First, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Update.
After this break.
I'm
Danny and Dusty on a Thursday afternoon with Danny, Dusty, and Rusty all back in the building for the first time in 3 bleeping weeks. We appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for joining us. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's good to be back. I've made it through with only a few coughs off air, and please God, let this go away. That's where I'm sitting at this point.
Yes. Yes. 3 weeks is such a long time to be sick.
It's brutal, brother. Like I said, this is the sickest I have ever been outside of in the pneumonia. I was in the hospital for 4 days, but that was over within about a week and a half.
Right.
That was probably the longest I'd ever really been sick for.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It seems like when a health problem happens with you, it really happens.
Yeah, it's never something gentle.
How is your hamstring, by the way?
Still recovering.
Still recovering.
Yeah. Still recovering. For those that are wondering, partial tears in my hamstring from physical therapy.
From physical therapy, you were drunk at the USC Oregon game, Danny. Is that what we're calling physical therapy now?
Yeah.
No, you can't change that story. We all heard it.
I had a slight twinge when I was walking. I didn't notice anything that was
That's
too
not physical therapy.
Physical therapy happened the next day. It happened the next day.
That's Sunday?
When it felt a little weird. I guess it was Monday. It was Monday. I felt a little twinge. I was just walking with Joe Fish, man. I felt a little twinge. It's a little twinge. That's all it was, man. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Might have been standing for a while. I don't know. My legs are broke, man. I broke Dusty. Jeff, fire up some NFL music for us so we can make our picks. We are down to conference championship weekend, which means we are only making 2 picks this week.
Yes, we are. We've got 3 football games left. That's why I'm crying.
That's it's getting to you. It's only 3 left. Only 3 left. Last week, I thought I actually did better, and I actually looked into this. I did not. I went 1-3.
That's tough.
Yeah, I took Texas plus 9.5. Texans plus 9.5 the Ravens. I was feeling pretty good at halftime. I was like, I'll cover. But I took Packers plus 9.5. I felt really good about that. Lions minus 6.5 against the Bucks, and Chiefs plus 2.5 at Buffalo.
Yeah. I mean, the Packers covered for you.
Oh, so I went 2-2. Excuse me. I had it backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Chiefs covered. Lions did not. Lions and Texans did not.
The Lions did cover.
Oh, so I did.
What are you talking
What was that? Oh, those are your picks. Excuse me. That's why I pushed the line down.
You
too
had
far.
the Niners, Bills.
Yes, Niners,
Lions,
Bills,
and Texans.
Yes. Never mind. I was looking at your line, not mine.
That scissor.
Yeah.
Let me hit enter on this page so I can put them down where my name needs to be.
Little physical therapy there for it.
Womp womp. Jeff Rust had Baltimore minus 9.5. Great pick. Green Bay plus 9.5. Great pick. Lions minus 6.5. Great pick. Buffalo minus 2.5. 3-1 for Jeff Rust.
Hey. Get me back over 500.
Babe.
Let's go.
That's all that matters. That's how you beat the house. So yeah, I was the only one who did poorly. Plus 9.5 for the Texans, minus 6.5 for the Lions, Bills minus 2.5, 49ers minus 9.5.
I'll chalk it up to the cough.
There you go.
We'll chalk it because I mean your runway still lofty here.
Yeah, I'm now 52-37-5 on the season.
It's okay.
So
that's not bad.
A decent record. Jeff Rust, you win the weekend, buddy. Start us off.
All right, well, we'll start off in the AFC. I guess we'll just go chronological here, huh? I'm a little worried about Isaiah Pacheco maybe not being available, but I'm not picking Kansas City to win, but I feel like I don't think it's going to be by more than 3 points. So I'm taking Kansas City plus 3.5, which makes that a road dog.
Let's go.
All right.
All right. I will go You have the Raven. Wait, you have it at 3.5. I got it at 4.
Yeah,
what do you got? You got
I got 4.
4.
You can take it at 4.
You like the hook? You like the hook at 4? You want Kansas City at 4?
I'll
love
take that
Kansas
at
City
4.
at 4.
You
I'll
want,
take that at
you want
4.
the, you want the 4.
All right, I'm going to go Ravens -4 against the Chiefs. We are hearing rain is a coming. Rains are a coming to Baltimore. It's supposed to be, it looked like it was going to be just kind of overcast. Now expected rain throughout the game. So I'm going to go with the Ravens -4. Run the damn football. Run the damn football.
Play
And
violent on the
now,
other side of the ball.
when you have the ability, the short intermediate passing game with Mark Andrews coming back, I think that that safety valve, now you can go 12 personnel, you can go 22 personnel with 2 backs, 2 tight ends, 1 back, 2 tight ends with Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. That opens up another dimension, and it forces teams, it'll make it easier to get to the edge.
And
when you
Monken
have
has
both
shown
those
his ability to adjust at halftime.
making
My
it
God.
easy. So I'm going to go Baltimore -4.
I am also going to go Baltimore -4. And as much as you just said, I'm going to echo that. But did you see the mic'd up clip of Roquan Smith?
No.
Oh, buddy. It's like Ray Lewis reincarnated. He's a lunatic. Unhinged. Which, let me tell you right now, you know how I like my linebackers? Unhinged.
Lunatics.
Absolute. Like,
That's good.
Danny likes lunatics.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, listen, man. It just I saw a great tweet this week. Outside of the murder, Ray Lewis is great, and just kind of showed you the level of unhinged that a linebacker can get to. Murdery. So outside of the murder, which again I can sympathize with. Roquan Smith, give me that defense. Give me that Ravens defense playing in the crappy weather. One of the things that we just haven't, I mean, last week.
Give Danny the D!
Hey! I'll take it.
Fenced.
That part. I'll let it go.
Uncle D.
There you go.
Now that's full circle.
Come on, babe. Completing the loop. But yeah, no, there's just something about, I know the Chiefs traveled and they won last week.
Yeah.
Doing it twice in a row, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. And I think the elements are going to kind of bear their ugly head again. And that Bills defense was the thing that was missing from that game, and it's not going to be missing for the Ravens.
Absolutely. NFC Championship, Jeffrey.
The conditions look to be favorable. Looks to be about 69 or so, and
Nice.
some sun. So while the dryness will help Brock Purdy in his tiny little hands,
Yeah.
I think those favorable weather conditions will also help out the Dome team. And so I have a hard time seeing San Francisco win by more than a touchdown. Give me another road dog, Detroit +7.
I'm with you. I'm going Detroit. I got it at 7.5, which makes it, again, another number that makes it more favorable for you, Jeff
Yeah,
Russ.
I'll go ahead and
take it.
7.5. I'm going to go Lions, 7.5. Debo Samuel's injury terrifies me if I'm a San Francisco 49er fan because of the fact of how dependent they are on him in the
Everything.
Swiss Army knife that he is in their run game. But look no further than the first play that he goes out, Juwan Jennings goes into the backfield, and they hand the ball off to him, and it goes nowhere. Nowhere. It changes fundamentally how you play without Debo Samuel, which I think makes it close, but I like the Niners.
My heart and my mind both say to pick the Lions. I'm not going to take them for the money line, but I am also going to take the Lions +7.5, of which, again, we missed something there. Lions at the 49ers. That is a road dog. It is a clean slate for all of us. Riding the Lions to spread victory, as it were. Who doesn't love a good spread victory?
Look, those aren't moral victories. Those aren't moral
They
victories. They count.
Winners win.
Good teams win. Great teams cover.
Indeed. I'm not going to touch the money line, but I think the Lions are going to do this. I think they're a team of destiny.
Yes. You think they're going to win?
I think they are.
We're going to think he's going to win outright? I would love Lions.
I think we need this as a country.
Can I say,
A unifying
I love
win.
both of these NFC teams. I love both of them. I love the Niners. I love the Lions.
My
I think-
Raiderdom does not allow for the 49ers.
I think we have a great uniform matchup.
We do.
I think that both head coaches are likable. Both quarterbacks get dumped on all the time, but all they do is come through for their teams, especially in the most crunch times, fourth quarters. Both of these guys were
Delivered
phenomenal
last
in the
week.
divisional round. And then they just have stars all over the place. And stars in places that, like, think this is like the offensive tackle wet dream game.
Mm-hmm.
You have Trent Williams, Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And it's going to be fun for people who don't normally watch the Lions to get to watch a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown,
Yeah.
who's an absolute monster.
And that's where I wish Debo was healthy, because you had two of the most physical wide receivers in the entire NFL in Amon-Ra St. Brown and Debo Samuel.
And the funny thing is about them is
I hope he plays and he's 100%.
neither of those guys are like Mike Evans, Calvin Johnson sized dudes.
No.
They just play way bigger than they are.
They'll just beat you up.
Yeah, and I genuinely hope that this game goes in a sense like the Bills-Chiefs game, where it comes down to a last possession opportunity, and whoever executes down the stretch is who wins this. I just don't want this to be a blowout either way. That's not true. If the Lions blow out the Niners, I'll be okay with that.
So I'm curious, when was the last time we got this deep into a season and into a postseason where you had 4 teams left that, outside of hating division rivals and that kind of thing, there's not really anybody that you're just actively rooting against?
No, well, Chiefs.
Well, like I said, outside of division rivals, Raider fan.
I'm saying this as a general. Like, I think most of the country wants anyone but the Chiefs.
Well, I think most of the red country wants anyone but the Chiefs.
I think the red country wants the Chiefs.
No, they're all against Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I think Taylor Swift's the devil.
But they're also like very Kansas City.
Anyway, not to get politicky.
No,
here,
but I get what you're saying. But like,
see, but the Chiefs, they're still they are likable. There's a reason why Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are all over State Farm commercials with a Sharpie. And,
I think people are tired of them. I think is the point.
Well, yeah, I think I mentioned this on Monday, but it kind of bears repeating. I think Patrick Mahomes his bitching has now been amplified a little bit to like officials.
That's
and
fair.
Complaining, but this is what happens when you get to a certain level of being a quarterback. Everybody said that about Brady. Everybody said it about Manning. Like, it was just like, the guy complains about everything. It's because you're trying to find things that you don't like about the person, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you're trying to find the reasons why, and it's working for me.
You've been around too long.
Yeah.
Like
you're too damn good.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're kind of looking for new blood, which you will get that with any of the other 3 teams.
Yeah. If the Bills would have won, I think we would have had the most likable Super Bowl and conference championship of all time.
Yes. Like I jokingly said, Bills Lions would bring the country together.
It would have,
because you would just been like, yeah, this is fun. I'm for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm for it. I'm all for it.
Maybe another thing that you're for. How about some NFL awards?
Yeah, can I say something really quick here about?
No,
I
this
can't
is radio. You're not allowed to talk. No,
I can't unsee it. I saw this meme the other day.
A meme?
It had all 4 of the quarterbacks in their celebrity doppelgangers, and it had like Lamar Jackson and young Samuel L. Jackson, which is an uncanny side by side if you've never.
Oh
seen it
yeah, no, I can see it.
It had Ryan Gosling and Jared Goff, which that's kind of a stretch. Brock Purdy was somebody
had that one going for a long time.
Yeah,
but I can't. I don't know who the Brock Purdy one was, but it looks like it's like a teenage girl. Looks like, but the one
Taylor
that
Benson,
I cannot see,
Bieber.
I cannot unsee. Patrick Mahomes looks like Darlene from Roseanne. Like young Darlene.
100%. Yeah, no, I've seen that one before.
Yeah,
no,
I saw that for the first time, and I was like,
remember when
I'll
they did
be
the gender
damned.
swap quarterbacks like last year?
He looks just like Darlene.
Yeah.
And I never saw that coming.
Yeah. No, they did the gender swap like AI thing with like all of the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And it was like some of them were a little uncomfortable. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mahomes was one of them, and it looked like Darlene from Roseanne. Like that was the thing. It was like, oh yeah, no, that's it was Patricia Mahomes, and it was like, yeah, no, that's not great, Bob.
And like you only see that if it's like you were watching the Roseanne reruns and you're like, Mahomes? That
kind of sounds like her too. It kind of sounds like a woman who smokes a pack of Pall Malls.
Can't
every
unsee
day.
it. Now nobody else can.
Enjoy.
I'm glad I did that for everybody out there.
All right, well, coming up next, we will talk about the NFL awards finalists that have been announced. Which way do they go? And those will be announced February 8th? February 8th. Yeah, indeed.
Trade deadline.
There you go. I'm babe. We'll dive into that. Come over next on Danny Nussey, 10 the Fan. who Dolly would pick for her NFL awards. Maybe there's a Tennessee Titan listed in there. She's a
Dolly Parton?
Yeah, she's Tennessee, isn't she?
This is not Dolly Parton.
No, this is Uncle Baby Billy and Amy Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
this
right.
is Baby Billy Bible Bunkus.
Why do I get this one mixed up with the other duet she did?
Kenny Rogers.
Yes.
The Gambler.
Islands in the Stream.
I always get that mixed. I always get this one mixed up with that. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a hell of a tune.
It's like I just go back to The Office where Michael Scott's like, I'll do the women's part. Islands in the stream. All right.
Anyways, it's a scissor. That's what we're going with. The NFL awards were released, or awards finalists, excuse me, were released for the AP that will be finalized and announced on February 8th for MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year and Assistant Coach of the Year if you care. I don't think there were really. When you were looking at this list, did you see any surprises? Anything catch you off guard?
Brock Purdy on the MVP list.
That's surprising?
Yes.
How so?
I don't think he is the most valuable player on his own team.
Okay.
Man, Christian McCaffrey is also on this list as MVP.
Would you sub somebody out for him, and who would that be?
I would sub out. No, I wouldn't put somebody else in.
You just
per
wouldn't
se.
have him.
Yeah, I mean, he was not MVP worthy this year. Like, he had a great year, and I think that this is like Niner fans they see everything as a slight to Brock Purdy, like that he shouldn't be under MVP consideration. He shouldn't. I mean, Christian McCaffrey.
If I put CJ Stroud
more
on
valuable.
on there instead of him, would that no?
I put Tyreek Hill on there.
Okay.
I put Tyreek Hill. I would put maybe even a defensive guy, whether you could
TJ
put
Watt
or Micah Parsons.
Okay.
I would put either, like, TJ Watt led the NFL in sacks this year and got hurt before the end of the regular season. Like, he was unbelievable. He's led the NFL in sacks for 3 years in a row. Like, it's crazy
which is
what he's done.
Him and his brother, I think, are the only players to ever do.
But yeah, I'd take Purdy off, and I'd probably put Tyreek Hill on there.
Which would match because Tyreek Hill is named as an Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
As opposed to an MVP.
TJ Watt and Micah Parsons are both on the Defensive Player of the Years. And everybody knows my feelings on the Cowboys, so I feel like that's an unbiased thing for me to say about Micah Parsons.
There you go.
So in saying that, I would replace Dak Prescott with Micah Parsons.
Who's more important to the Cowboys? I can tell you this: it wasn't Dak Prescott in the playoffs. That's for sure.
Yeah. So
again, your MVP finalists: Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Christian McCaffrey, Dak Prescott.
Yeah, it's going to go Lamar, Christian, Dak, Josh, Brock. I think that's how the voting, when we finally see how the voting goes, I think that's going to be how it all kind of sorts out.
So you're going to go with Lamar winning.
Yes.
And then Josh second?
No.
Christian
McCaffrey, then Dak Prescott, then Josh Allen, then Brock Purdy.
Which I guess would feed into your Offensive Player of the Year being Christian McCaffrey.
I think
if you win one, then the other goes to CMC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's how. Hell, Tyreek Hill might do it, even though he cooled down at the end of the regular season. I mean, there was that conversation of Tyreek Hill and the MVP. I think that he won't win the Offensive Player of the Year because of the fact that he isn't even on the MVP voting. Yeah. You know, when you look at that, it's like one of these things is not like the other. And so Brock Purdy and Josh Allen are absent from Offensive Player of the Year.
Which Josh Allen one I found a little bit surprising there.
I don't, because it was a regression at the beginning of the year, right?
Okay.
He was reined in, and they started surging at the end when Joe Brady came in as offensive coordinator, right? So I think that's probably where it comes from. But you saw his importance.
But the interesting thing about these lists also is that, unlike the NBA and MLB, you're getting these in the midst of the playoffs.
Yeah.
After games have already happened.
Yeah.
And it's a regular season award.
Yes.
So to speak. But narratives are shifting. Was Tyreek Hill visible in their playoff game?
No.
Does that impact where he sits in this? Drastically,
Probably.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Same with Lamar Jackson. If he hadn't won MVP, he did against the Texans.
I think he already did, though. I think he already did.
With his final closing 3 weeks. Well, I should
Dude
3 of
was
the final
awesome
4 weeks.
all damn season. Yeah.
But I mean, he wrapped it up in the final 3 of 4 weeks.
Yep. And then this past week, he was the dude. He was the best player in the playoffs.
And I think that you can probably make that decision a little bit more interesting when you talk about Defensive Player of the Year, because none of these guys advanced. You have Deron Bland, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt.
I think it's probably going to be Watt.
Yeah, I do too.
Or Micah Parsons.
But
one of those
I think the push is TJ missing those games.
Yeah. But
also Micah Parsons cooled down a ton towards the end of the season.
Yeah, if we're going with the dominance, though, okay, you miss those games.
And still
number one.
Mm-hmm.
That's how impressive he was all season long. Yeah. I think that those ones are not, and this is an odd year because I don't think there's going to be a lot of controversy in any of it.
No.
Right? Because I think
it's eye of the beholder
as
type
you
stuff.
Go down the list and you say, all right, offensive rookie of the year, CJ Stroud, done. Right?
Do you think it's done?
I don't think there's a question.
Because I said Stroud a couple weeks ago, and you pushed back with Puka pretty hard.
I didn't push back hard. I said you could convince me of Puka. But I think it is CJ Stroud in a landslide because look at what he did to his team and the importance of his team.
He took a team from defunct to a good playoff team.
Defensive rookie of the year, Will Anderson.
He's running away with that one.
But yeah, both rookies of the year. Yeah. I mean, you have that one because, I mean, you'll probably get a little bit of Joey Porter Jr. in there by name recognition.
Sure.
But I think that it is him. It's cool to see Devon Witherspoon in there too, of the Seahawks. But probably not going to win it. Will Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the Texans were able to do with all three of their first-year guys was absolutely
incredible.
Whether it's DeMeco Ryans, C.J. Stroud, or Will Anderson, knocked it out of the park.
You have franchise cornerstones at the places that matter most.
Yep.
Your most impactful defensive player, your most impactful offensive player, and the guy leading it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my God, what an organizational overhaul.
I think now you see why they got hit with tampering for trying to get Nick Caserio out of New England. He's now in charge in Houston. He had to wait a year, ended up coming back. You see why they wanted him. Mm-hmm. He's really damn good at what he does. Yeah.
And you mentioned off air, if they were going to have an executive of the year, it should be him.
It should be Nick Caserio.
Yeah.
Yeah. What he was able to do.
You can
absolutely outstanding.
Probably make an argument for the Lions as well.
Yes. Well, because you get four draft picks that you got two of them that are up for offensive rookie of the year. That's pretty damn good. I would say that's a good
not bad
job.
And you can make an argument for Brian Branch being on the defensive side of that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. The comeback player of the year is a little interesting.
Because we all knew that DeMar Hamlin was going to be on this list as long as he played football.
And he still should win it. The dude died on the field last year.
Quite literally died.
Joe Flacco's career died in New York, but he just was brought back to Cleveland.
And boy, was it fun for 3 weeks.
But this is the thing. I said this about Flacco, and it ended up killing them in the playoffs. Joe Flacco turns the damn ball over a ton.
That thing go.
And he had 2 pick sixes in that game.
Oof.
He played 6 games through 10 interceptions.
Not bad. Hey, man, you can't keep those throws.
But don't give me that he's the comeback player of the year. It is not. It is not Joe Flacco.
Honestly, I think
Baker Mayfield is way more deserving than Joe Flacco, but it's DeMar Hamlin.
Sure, because he died. But if you're talking about just like on-field performance, because remember, the Bills didn't play DeMar for like the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season?
He played in very few games, period. And people are like, well, that divisional round, that fake punt is going to come back to haunt him. It shouldn't. And
it's not his fault.
It won't. But I think it's more of a conversation between Baker and DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah, then
it
Joe.
should be. Yeah. And if you don't, if you vote Joe Flacco, you aren't watching football.
No. You're probably in Cleveland, or you just really like the particular stylings of one Joseph Flacco.
He did great. He did great coming in off the street. Mm-hmm. That's not your comeback player of the year, though.
Coach of the year. I think this one's really good because I don't think you can pick a wrong choice, but you've got Dan Campbell, John Harbaugh, DeMeco Ryans, Kyle Shanahan, Kevin Stefanski. The Browns really being as good as they were, despite all of their injuries and all of their dysfunction, is incredible.
It really is.
Shanahan does the most with the most.
Yep.
Is incredibly just that dude.
Yeah, and I think that's what hurts him.
Sure. D'Amico Ryans coming in and resurrecting a franchise from the ashes, his former franchise, with 2 stud rookies, guys with no experience. That's incredible.
Winning the division, hosting a playoff game, and winning a playoff
Advancing.
game. And then, for a half, played really well against the top seed in the odds-on Super Bowl favorite,
Before
Baltimore.
the top seeded.
But this comes down, to me, Dan Campbell and John Harbaugh.
Yeah. Campbell winning the division for the Detroit Lions for the first time in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then going in and advancing to the NFC Championship game. It's kind of funny. I think it was week 6 or 7. We were talking about our picks, and I said something along the lines of, there's something about this Lions team where if I told you that, or somebody told me that they were in the NFC Championship game, it wouldn't shock me. And the fact that they're here, still a little shocked.
Yeah, it is a little bit surprising.
I like getting here, like, even though I thought, like, man, I can see it. I can see it happening. The fact that it did, because it's the Lions, makes me believe that what Dan Campbell has done to beat the stigma of what the Lions are is the selling point.
I go, and I wouldn't have a problem with either Campbell or John Harbaugh. And I think Campbell probably does win it because he's a great story and probably a better story. But with John Harbaugh, the man has won Coach of the Year one time.
Mm-hmm. This is the Mike Tomlin-esque story.
Except for he's better. He's better because
the coaching
you
in that
talked
division,
about all of the injuries that Kevin Stefanski went through.
It's the Ravens.
Harbaugh does it every
always
damn year.
Yeah.
And here they are, the top seed in the AFC, and they're getting healthier as we're getting deeper into the playoffs. That's what's crazy to think about. And so Harbaugh, he deserves so much more respect than he is given. He should be the coach of the
Think about
year.
that division, though. Harbaugh, Stefanski, Tomlin are the coaches you have to go against in that division.
With Zach Taylor's
Taylor
not a
too,
slouch
yeah. I mean,
either.
again, but the Bengals obviously with the Burrow injury, but yeah, like, is Zach Taylor the worst coach in that division?
He's been in a Super Bowl,
but I mean, like, that's kind of like,
and he turned around the friggin'
Bengals. That's what I'm saying. Like, that division's coaching is unreal.
It's really good. It's really good.
My goodness,
it's a far cry from the NFC South. That's for sure.
I mean, that's the best coaching division in the league.
AFC North.
Yeah.
I don't know. The AFC West is gonna have something to say with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, and Antonio Pierce.
Take Pierce over Payton right now.
Okay.
See how that does for you.
Go Bing.
Keep telling yourself that.
Go Bing.
Keep telling yourself.
All right, speaking of coaches, though, when we come back, we will dive into a couple new coaching hires that have happened here recently.
The AFC North had nobody fired this year.
Hey,
how about that? That makes his point.
Saying AFC West, a lot of that. Oh. But first, here's a big Kuno Sports and Update.
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, serving Portland, Southwest Washington, and the Gorge. Online at aneheatingandcooling.com. It's hard to stop a train. First on The Fan, fresh off an overtime win last night against the Rockets in Houston. The Trailblazers wrapping up their road trip tomorrow in San Antonio against Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. Portland 13-31 on the season, the fifth worst record in the league. The Wizards have promoted top assistant Brian Keefe to interim head coach for the rest of the season, while Wes Unseld Jr. is expected to remain with the team in a front office role. NFL injury news. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says Isaiah Pacheco participated in today's walkthrough, but is still being held out of practice due to a toe injury. And 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan says Deebo Samuel will be a limited participant in practice today as he recovers from a shoulder injury. In the coaching carousel, this one coming out in about the last 45 minutes or so, multiple reports say the Falcons planning to hire Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris as head coach. Adam Schefter reporting Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn is in Seattle for his second interview with the Seahawks for their head coaching vacancy. Quinn will also reportedly have a second interview with the Commanders early next week. And multiple reports say the Panthers hiring Buccaneers offensive coordinator Dave Canales as their next head coach. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rush at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro football playoff action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Daily Boost is the podcast for in-depth analysis on the sports betting landscape. Listen on Odyssey or wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, in the past couple hours, there have been a few other coach hirings. There's only 2 left now. The Seattle Seahawks and the Washington Commanders are the only 2 left with vacancies. And both are rumored to be out on one former Patriots head coach, Bill Belichick.
Yeah, this is interesting. The Falcons going Raheem Morris, which is a boomerang back around.
He could have been their head coach 3 years ago.
He was the interim coach when they fired Dan Quinn. He is not a good head coach from what his track record has said, but I give guys like Raheem Morris, people are going to be like, he was terrible in Tampa. He was terrible in Tampa. He was.
But,
I mean,
Bill Belichick was awful with the Browns.
It was Tampa Bay, though, and they were just they're pulling themselves out of it, but they were a model of dysfunction during that time. 2009, 10, and 11, they were an absolute disaster and a train wreck. Then he takes over in Atlanta, and that was a tough gig when you get Dan Quinn fired after an 0-5 start. He ended up going 4-7, right, in the final 11 games of the season. Raheem Morris is, as far as football smarts go, one of the guys that everybody to a man will say, it doesn't matter what you talk to him about, that man can coach. To the point where he has coached DBs, receivers, he's been a coordinator. I think he's done some linebackers coach as well. The dude is all over the field. But no matter where it is, he is one of the brightest minds, and he connects to the players very well. And he's done an insane job.
Which is something that Arthur Smith did not do.
He's a developer of talent as well. He's maximized all of those guys out in LA on that defense. But it's all about who you surround yourself with. And he's a defensive mind. And he's got to nail the offensive coordinator hire. Like, that's what you have to do in this age of the NFL. And more so, you have to have who you're going to go after whoever you bring in is going to be the OC. Like, you have to have that plan, because if your offense is good, he's going to be gone, and he's going to be a head coach somewhere. We know that. Hell, Brian Johnson, who just got fired from the Philadelphia Eagles, a couple of weeks ago, they're like, well, before the playoffs, Brian Johnson will be a hot name. What? He just got fired in Philly. Ben Johnson has worked wonders in Detroit. He's came back for one more year with Dan Campbell. That's going to be the big question moving forward with Detroit is, all right, if Ben Johnson goes to Washington or Seattle, right, then what does Dan Campbell do?
What does he do?
These are the big questions when you're not a play caller on the offensive side of the ball. And whether it's fair or not, you have to be ready to have all of those questions answered when you take the job and when you
can be a head coach and be a defensive-minded guy and be successful, i.e. DeMeco Ryans, Mike Vrabel. Like, you can still be that if you nail the other part of this. That's what matters.
Yeah.
Because the coordinator stuff, even if you are the play caller, guess what you're losing? You're still losing coordinators. We saw it in Kansas City. We saw them struggle a little bit when they lost Bieniemy.
That was more personnel. That's more personnel based.
You don't think it had anything to do with Bieniemy either?
I don't think a lot had to do with Eric Bieniemy being gone. Because scheme-wise, they haven't really changed. I mean, it's the personnel.
There was
a drop-off last year, too. And then it was pronounced even more this year, especially at the beginning of the year where Mecole Hardman was gone, and you were just breaking in brand new receivers
across
everywhere.
The board. Right. But overall, the point being, even if you are the play caller, you're still going to lose a coordinator. You're going to still lose an offensive coordinator. You're going to still lose a guy that you're going to work with for a couple of years, and they're going to go. And then you're going to lose your defensive guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the way the way these puppy mills kind of go, is that the coordinators, like, who is the Monty Kiffin nowadays? Who is the guy who's with a coordinator who's with a team for 20 years? It just doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, because head coaches get fired so quickly,
and their staffs kind of go with them.
Like, nobody's around that long anymore. But when you think of those guys who are probably going to be the career DCs, like a guy like Aaron Glenn in Detroit right now, he fits that mold.
He might be a guy,
a defensive coordinator that just sticks around. Vic Fangio is that guy. He was just the head coach of the Denver Broncos. That went real quick, but now he's jumping around teams, but like a long time. But these guys will get a chance, and then they revert back to, okay, I'm going to do what's best, what I know best,
which is
I'm going to be a coordinator. Right? Wink Martindale is probably that guy, who's just a nails defensive coordinator. You look at the names that are out there, though, for those two spots that are open, Ben Johnson, Bill Belichick obviously is open, and it doesn't appear that he's going to be going to either one of those places after Morris goes to Atlanta. I find it interesting that Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator at Tampa this past year, who's a Pete Carroll disciple, was with Pete at USC, followed him up. He was a wide receivers coach, a quarterbacks coach, then got the offensive coordinator job in Tampa, chance to call plays, left Pete Carroll. Think of the work he did. He quarterback coached Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, and Baker Mayfield.
And he started there as an analyst in 2010. So he spent, 12 years with the Seahawks working his way up to that organization?
Yeah, well, he went from USC to Seattle with Pete. Yeah, but he got the 3 best years out of those 3 quarterbacks. Baker, Geno, Russ. Got the best out of them, right?
The Panthers making possibly a smart hire. Might be upset of the year.
But it's not Mike McDonald, who's the defense coordinator for the Ravens right now. It's not Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Lions right now. Those are 2 guys that are still coaching, and there's 2 jobs open. And there are 3 really sharp names that are out there that can win games and win right away. Belichick, Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson is more of a question mark in my mind because he's young, and the experience of being a head coach is so different. Like he may be wired for it. He may be that guy. Everything that you've heard from anybody in the Harbaugh circles is Mike McDonald has that right? Ben Johnson is a dynamite play caller, but you have to be the leader of men.
And it's just a different skill set.
Dan Campbell is that.
Yes.
Like, I would love it if Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson were just attached with Dan Campbell forever, and they just paid whatever it took to keep those guys around. I have a feeling the Ford family won't do that, but it'd be awesome if they did. It'd be awesome.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Being relevant.
That's right.
Step number 1. All right, we'll come back. We'll put a little bow on today's show with the stupidity of Luka Doncic. Danny and Dusty, Today the Fan. right, wrapping things up here on Danny and Dusty here on a Thursday afternoon. A little shout out for Brandon Lindquist on the YouTube channel, 1080 AM The Fan, youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan. It is his 30th birthday.
Hey, happy birthday, man.
Hey.
P1.
Birthday. Starting today, your hangovers will last all day.
All day.
Speaking of things that last all day and all the time, Luka Doncic's reputation being dragged through the mud for acting like a whiny child after asking to have a fan ejected because he said mean things to him.
Yeah, might be the softest. This may be the softest an NBA player has acted all season long.
Look,
I don't think it's particularly close, and that's a damn stern statement
that's
there
a
because
low bar.
the NBA very soft, and this guy cleared it incredibly. Luka was heckled with, "Luka, you're tired. Get your ass on a treadmill." During their game against the Suns, he went and got security and had the man removed from the stands.
Luka further elaborated, saying that
Is so soft.
Yes.
that he was cussing at him all game and he just had enough. And I'm like, then why didn't you have him ejected earlier?
Because he's soft.
Yeah, that's
That's it
is
right
what-
there.
And to be fair, the Suns were beating the crap out of the Mavericks, which
Well, that should be even more why you're getting heckled, Luka.
that's what I mean.
You should be getting heckled when you're getting your ass kicked, and that's when you have to just take it.
Suck it up, because remember, I added the up. The cough almost came in there, but the narrative has been that Luka's been Booker's daddy. And I think that being flipped on its head made him a little whiny boy. Remember, all the memes
that's a good point.
of Luka looking over as they beat the living hell out of the Suns in Game 7.
Well, you can't have fans tossed for saying get your ass on a treadmill.
No.
And I think that one's just maybe stinging a little bit with Luka because, I don't know, he's always criticized for being out of shape coming into the season.
Because his nickname is Hookah Doncic.
Yeah. And so it hit close to home.
So his
but that's not
personality
bad at
softer
all.
than his body.
Hell, there are times where I defend the players and say, nope, these fans do cross lines.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
This is not one
No.
in any way, shape,
Especially
or
for
form.
Luka
He's just soft.
Jokic, guys
Come
who
on,
played
man.
in Serbia. Like, have you seen the stuff that comes out of there?
Yeah, they got a lot of flares and stuff.
Yeah, and it's not just that. Like, it's nasty. There's a Serbian basketball team that's not allowed to have fans because of wildly outlandish and racist comments.
Wonder what's Serbian for treadmill.
See, look, rest in peace to Mamba. That's something Kobe would have done. Kobe was famous for talking trash, and he did it to Luka before passing. He was at a Mavericks game, and he was trash talking Luka jokingly from the courtside seats in Serbian. You better be real careful with that
Did
pronunciation.
you just call somebody a chaunch?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Traka
Yeah.
Zatronchki. Treadmill in Serbian.
There you go.
Don't hold me to that pronunciation.
You probably just started World War III. Good job.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just lost in translation. Google Translate should just put like swear words in.
Go ahead and use that
search anything.
as your defense at The Hague.